the next episode of the Alpaca.
That's all right.
So all of our moms and then the 3 other strangers.
Gotta start somewhere, right? Gotta start somewhere.
We don't all start out at Degrassi and work our ways up from there.
That's starting from the bottom, and now he's there.
Yeah. Some of us literally start in the bottom. We are in a basement right now.
Yeah, and we're still here.
Yeah. But to be fair, it is not our mother's basement. Any of us.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll point that out.
It will soon be somebody's.
I was hoping that it was just assumed that this was not one of our parents' basement. Because, granted, that would definitely explain.
I got no hair. Anyway, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. First time since week 1 that all 5 of us are together.
Yeah, first time with 5 people on the couch trying this out as opposed to the table.
5 alpacas on the couch.
Yeah.
So how about Sam Darnold?
How about Sam Darnold?
Sam
Should we
Darnold?
start off our segment with, who's going to be just
the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
It's, in case y'all been living under a rock, Sam Darnold traded over to Carolina for a second
For a
round.
Coke machine. They traded it to him for a Coke machine.
They essentially traded a
that.
they traded a 1st-round pick and 3 second-round picks for a current 6th-round pick and a future 2nd and 4th.
It's all right.
But
You
at the
got
end of the day, it's
something-
like a
you got something
car.
to
You
return.
take it off the lot, it depreciates the second you take it off, so at least you got something for it. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, I know that a 2nd round next year is supposed to be equivalent to a 3rd this year. I'd much rather get that 2nd round next year. I'm surprised you guys were even able to get that.
And I think that with that trade, the Jets have something like 7 picks in the first 2 rounds between
10.
this year and next year.
No,
10?
13 in the first 3.
13 for 3, yeah. 7 to 13 for 3. It's
That's how you.
That's
you
where we
can't
want to
go-
be.
That's how you rebuild your team. That's
Right.
it's exactly
That's
what
not
Miami
how-
did. And like
they're
Miami's
still
on the
doing
up
it.
and up.
But
yeah.
we've also seen teams screw it up. Like, remember when Cleveland?
Well,
Like,
yeah,
Cleveland
you don't
stocked
take
up all those
Johnny
draft
Manziel.
picks, and then not only did they take Johnny Manziel, like they took Miles Garrett, right? Great pick. Then they took David Njoku, who, don't get me wrong, I liked him
Yeah,
coming out of
that was a
Miami, but he hasn't come. He has not developed.
Yeah.
Tight ends take longer, so I'm
They
still
signed
going to
Austin
say
Hooper.
out.
If Njoku had, if he had escalated or grown into his position, they wouldn't have had to.
And
get
they drafted
Austin Hooper.
Harrison Bryant last year.
Okay.
In the 3rd round, the kid out of FAU. Same as
They
Devin
took
Singletary.
Denzel Ward during that span too, right?
They did. They've hit on a couple of them, but I think Denzel Ward was right after.
They also took Jabril Peppers.
Jabril Peppers was the one I was
Right.
trying to get to because he was the
Right.
other 1st-round pick when they had 3 1st-round picks. They took Myles Garrett, number 1 overall, great pick. And then, don't get me wrong, I like Jabril Peppers, but if you're going to take a safety in the 1st round, you need to have a defense where that safety has a defined role and you know exactly how he's going to develop.
They could have
because it's
taken
such a niche position.
Bradley could have taken
Chubb?
Bradley. Was it Chubb?
No, Chubb went 5 or 6 to Denver the year that we were trying to get up to get Allen, and Denver said you can get up to us if Chubb doesn't fall. Chubb fell. They said screw you.
I feel
and
like
then we had to trade.
they passed. The
So-
Browns passed up on an edge defender for Denzel Ward. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I mean, Denzel Ward is
great.
Yeah, like Denzel Ward was a hit. He was one of their hits. But the point being that they constantly were building up these draft picks, and I remember them constantly talking about how like that's how you got to do it. But at the end of the day, you also have to make
Still
the
the
right
Browns.
picks. We all know our franchises have made some good picks, and we've made a lot of bad ones, and we've had to live through that crap. Like, if I have to live, we need another edge defender. If we get another Aaron Maben again, I swear to God, Buffalo is going to just break itself off and be its own entity outside the U.S. and outside of Canada, just chilling in the middle
that
of,
why-
of Erie.
That's why you want to trade up for Kyle Pitts.
It's one of the... Okay, so I threw... all right, in transparency,
Wait.
I did throw a firecracker into the...
We'll get there. I feel like
When
we'll
did
get there.
you say
You
that?
did say we were going to start this off, man.
Oh.
Jets
I
quarterback
think-
week
yeah.
1, because we said we were going to try and do this each week. Steve started us off. I think you were right. No,
Well,
you said Wilson from the beginning. Did you
Well,
not?
I'm not right because
Well,
we don't know whether it's
yeah.
Zach Wilson or Justin Fields at
You're
this point.
Or Mac Jones.
But it's definitely not Sam Darnold. Not Sam Darnold. You
I've
say-
been with
didn't-
you.
No, yeah,
I've
no,
been
I
with
was
you
Sam
since
Darnold,
day
Sam
one.
Darnold, Sam Darnold. I believe it was you two that had said
Wilson.
Both went Wilson, yes?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Alright, so I guess alright, I'm on that bandwagon now as well. It's obviously not going to be Darnold. Forney?
What was the question?
Who's going to be
He's
the
like, I do not want to even acknowledge the fact that you asked me that.
I'm paying attention to my phone. Fuck this podcast.
No, it's gonna have to be Zach Wilson now.
Why? Why not
Because
Fields?
why not Fields? Because
Yeah.
he's not good enough. Neither is Zach Wilson, but I'll be right. I don't want to be right, but I'll be right.
So
Right about what?
If it's gonna be a disaster.
So now
Or you could be right or happy, and you're choosing to be right.
I don't want to be right, but I'm gonna be right.
It's a horrible burden
suck.
that we all have to carry.
Yeah.
Those of us who are right all the time, I know.
But here's the question I guess I really want to ask you then. You seem like you think Fields is worse than Wilson?
Yes.
Okay. So at this juncture, assuming Lawrence goes first and
I
Urban
agree.
Meyer doesn't throw a monkey wrench and take Fields
Wilson,
with the
yeah.
first one,
Wilson.
you're going Wilson at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Even though obviously your hands are tied.
Yeah.
If he takes Justin Fields at 1 and the Jets don't take Trevor Lawrence, they're
Everybody's fired.
Yeah.
Everybody is
Yeah,
fired.
sit 'em.
New York will fire the Jets.
That's like the definition
not
of
gonna
same
happen,
old
though.
Jets.
That's not gonna
Not
happen.
gonna
Didn't
happen.
Urban Meyer already?
They'll be so
pretty
bad, New
much
York
said-
will actually start calling them the
Take
New
one.
Jersey Jets. Because they will want no affiliation with that organization.
You're right.
You're not wrong.
Which, to be perfectly honest, I think they should have been calling. They should also be the Jersey Giants. Buffalo, only New York team.
He's gonna go to Carolina and he's gonna have a good career there. And I wish
I
him
hope
the
he
best.
does.
Well, you say
I think
career.
that's-
He's got 2 years to really make something of himself, though, because they're going to pick up his option. You don't trade that and then not pick up the guy's option.
yeah.
So that gives him 2 years.
He'll have.
And they have a good infrastructure,
Couple
but there's
good-
no guarantee. Like, he's got Tom Brady and the Bucks for at least 1 more year, and that team ain't going anywhere. And you've also got the Saints, who, while I understand Drew Brees ain't there, the defense is still good. Jameis Winston is a capable quarterback.
Marshawn Lattimore is going to be Sam Darnold's #1 receiver.
That's quite possible. I mean,
He was Jameis Winston's #1 receiver for a while.
anybody not wearing a Bucks jersey was Jameis Winston's #1 receiver.
That being said, I'm a big Jameis believer. Like, I love Jameis Winston.
He's this weird guy that just, I don't know what it is. He seems like that guy who's in a jock body, but he's got this nerdy weirdo to him, and it just so happened that he got to hang out with the jocks because he was just big, muscular, and good at football. And that kind of makes me feel a little bit like him, because I'm like, hey, I wasn't big, good at football and athletic, but I was that nerdy kid too, that just didn't have the cool body to pass it off. But
Jameis Winston has
But
thrown
Sean
more
Payton's-
Touchdown passes to members of the Saints than Taysom Hill has.
That, I did see that, and that's, more of an indictment on Hill, in my opinion. But also, the thing is, and Sean Payton's still there, too. And, like, so if we're going to keep calling Sean Payton a genius, we can't say that, it's kind of like when Brady left. Like, are we going to say that Belichick is no longer a genius? No. We've been saying that they worked in tandem together, and that's why they were able to be so successful. But it's just because Brady leaves and they don't do well in the first year that he's gone, and they're in cap hell because they're in such dead cap from Brady.
Yep.
In addition to very poor drafting and other poor decisions.
I mean, we saw who drafted for him last year.
That pooch.
Yeah.
The pooch was so bad at drafting, it drafted 2 tight ends, and then he signed 2 tight ends this year. And all
It's not
that.
like him though, you know.
Yeah,
What, being Mr. Moneybags and free agency?
But he's never had to. Their team has never been this bad. Like, this team was devoid of talent. It wasn't just quarterback. This team had very little talent, in addition to the opt-outs. But they just had very little talent.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you have little talent? You spend a lot of money in free agency. You try to make...
Bring in talent.
Right.
Yeah.
They
If you
actually
can.
the best
If
tight
you
ends
can.
in free agency.
I think
I
it
guess
is...
who are the best tight ends in football? I think.
You think?
Yeah.
I don't think
When you
so.
say the best, at what point do we say that? Because you got Kelsey up there, you got Kittle up there, you got
I
Darren
think-
Waller
yeah,
up there. Those are automatically, I would assume, your top 3.
100%.
So is it top 5 means you're the best? Top
Yeah,
10?
I'd
top
say Hunter
15?
Henry's a top 5 tight end. And I just like Jonnu.
That's true, don't get me wrong. I think they're both... They're on that border of, I say, somewhere between, like, that 5 to 10 range. So I can see what you're saying. I just guess my immediate thought was when you say some of the best, I'm like, I can name 3 that automatically are in a class of their own above those guys.
Like, they would start on my fantasy team.
But yeah, that's because the tight end position outside of Travis Kelsey and George Kittle, except for last year because we got fucked by that.
Yeah.
we still won.
We did.
We still won.
Still made our money. But outside of those 2, that position is a fantasy wasteland.
Like, if you do not get one of those guys in the first couple rounds, you might also just draft some undrafted
Kyle
kid and hope to
Pitts.
God that he hits.
Kyle Pitts coming to your real dad this
So
year.
where do we think Kyle Pitts is going to go
Atlanta.
in fantasy drafts?
To
this
my
year?
team, because I'm going to find a way.
What round do you think he's going in?
I will pay you whatever
I'd
you
say
want.
Probably, I'd say someone's going to gamble like 2nd or 3rd on them.
In
second round, really?
Standard
Think?
redraft leagues?
Yeah.
Yeah, you've also got your keepers, and then you got dynasty. So I just wanna
Standard
make sure.
redraft.
Standard, yeah.
I think the earliest he goes is the 3rd round.
I think that's going to be a... You know what's odd is that it's always a reach with... Because
It
tight
also
ends are
depends
slow
on where
developing.
he goes too. Also depends on
Yeah.
where he goes.
And it definitely depends on where he goes. It also depends on who's at the board. Because it's one of those things where, like, you have those mid-range wide receivers, those mid-range running backs that you know are, like, high floor, low ceiling guys. Maybe you take the shot on Pitts and be like, I can grab a top 5 tight end here as opposed to trying to just build depth to my running back.
What if Pitts goes 4 to Atlanta? Then it would be like Matt Ryan had Tony Gonzalez again.
That's where I think they're gonna. If they don't trade out of that pick,
Yeah, I think.
like I know there's talk about the quarterback thing. There's actually a riff apparently. The new coach Arthur Smith wants to stay with Matt Ryan. Thinks he has another couple of years and wants to take Kyle Pitts and start building that defense because he ran a lot of 2 and 3 tight end sets in Tennessee. The owner, I think, or the GM, I'm sorry, the Fourneau, I'm butchering his name, or Fournot, he wants to, you're not going to pick 4 ever. Like, hopefully you're not going to pick 4 again in the near future again. So if you have a shot at a Justin Fields at 4, for example, or a Trey Lance or a Mac Jones, and you really like those guys, you take him. My problem is that they also, when they restructured Matt Ryan's contract, they not only made it harder to move on from him this year, they made it harder to move on from him in the future years when it comes to dead cap. And I understand the idea of draft a young quarterback and develop him underneath. Very few franchises actually seem to do that. They'd rather bottom out and then grab a quarterback when they have a horrible year and they're picking in the top 5 the way that
Kansas City did with
Jets
Pat
are currently.
Mahomes. They sat Pat Mahomes behind
Alex Smith.
one of the best journeymen to do it. Yeah, Alex Smith.
Also,
learned all
the
season.
Falcons picking it for
He's
Arthur
gonna get
Smith
picked up by the
is a
Jets.
former tight end
Alex
coach.
Smith?
Yes, he was.
I predict that. Yeah.
I would like that very much.
No,
Alex
that's
Smith
a
today.
good point though. Having a head coach, like we mentioned this before with your GM Joe Douglas being a former O lineman. Arthur Smith was a former tight ends coach.
Coach.
So when you have that affiliation, you have that knowledge. Like
Right.
there's a reason that the Bills have been so good at developing those later round, and even Trey White as an early round, but those D-backs. Like Jordan Poyer coming over, becoming a big piece. Levi Wallace was an undrafted free agent that has become a solid, if unspectacular, number 2. Teron Johnson has proven to be a serviceable, if not a more than serviceable slot cornerback.
Micah Hyde.
Micah Hyde was pretty good to start with, but yes, he's taken his game, I think, to another level in Buffalo.
I think they have the best safety tandem in football.
I agree.
Like-
I'm also partial. But McDermott was a D-back, was a safety, and cut his teeth playing and coaching defensive backs.
Then
So
why don't the Broncos have good safeties?
Well, John Lynch ain't there. He's in San Fran.
Well, why don't they have good safeties?
They have Jaquiski Tart. I do like Jaquiski
I
Tart.
like him, yeah. He made that sick catch.
And they've had Jimmy Ward
2
for a
years
while.
ago.
Yeah, and they've had Jimmy Ward for a while, who's a bit of a tweener kind of thing, like a LaMarcus Joyner type. But I think he was a little overdrafted, but he was still because he was end of first round. But that's the problem. End of first round draft picks, especially first round, end of first round picks are.
You start hit the lottery.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to swing for upside at that point because all the sure things were taken in the first half of the draft or so.
I was
Which
talking,
a lot of the times they're not sure. You know.
I was talking with a buddy of mine who's a Raiders fan earlier today, and he was like, "Oh, I was reading something where the Raiders might take a quarterback," and then we ran down and like, Trey Lance might still be there for the Raiders,
If Trey Lance is there, there's no way they're passing on him.
right?
What
Like,
number
they-
they at?
The Raiders pick. Hold on.
Mid teens, late teens.
Hey Rob, just run down the order real quick. So we
Uh,
all know
Yeah, you got
Jacksonville,
obviously
Jets,
the
San
Niners.
Fran.
Atlanta,
Atlanta.
Cincy, Miami, Detroit.
Denver.
No, Denver's 9.
Carolina.
Carolina's
Carolina.
8, thank you, and Dallas is 10.
Yep.
And then
The Giants at 11.
Giants are at 11. Phillies
Phillies
at
at 12. They traded back down from 6 to 12.
Chargers. Like,
Chargers.
none of these guys are taking
Vikings.
quarterbacks.
No, but there's always the opportunity to trade up. Like that's what Atlanta is saying. That it's open
Currently, Mac Jones is actually predicted to go 15th to New England.
New England. You know what? Let them.
My
Honestly,
God.
I'm hoping they take Mac Jones. To be honest,
And
Why
then
not?
you get the
why?
Cardinals.
He is.
Yeah,
I
the
would much
Cardinals
rather-
Because it's
15.
Bill Belichick taking a quarterback.
And
in
then
the first
Mekhi
round.
Parsons is who the
Which
Raiders
he's
are
never done, I
projected
get
to
that.
pick,
I know.
linebacker.
Oh,
scary.
Micah Parsons?
Mekhi, yeah.
Well,
Micah.
first off, he
Micah,
hasn't.
Right, Micah.
Well,
He
actually,
hasn't hit on his picks, but it's just
They
like
pick at 17.
who?
The
17?
Raiders.
they're probably they may trade up.
No, I don't think they'll
I don't
trade
think
up for
so.
Trey Lance. I think that
No.
they have Derek Carr, and I don't think they hate Derek Carr because Derek Carr wasn't the problem last year. Straight
No,
up.
Derek Carr had...
That defense was atrocious.
Yeah.
Their draft picks have missed. Mike Mayock, I loved him. I praised him
actually,
every time he was on
quite-
NFL
quite-
Network. You
quite
guys know I
literally,
loved
to-
him. Put him in
what
that
he-
GM
what
spot,
I'm
and he
saying-
has been piss poor.
Yeah.
To what I'm saying, most actually people that probably are in the draft are prospecting the Raiders. It actually says the Raiders need a quarterback up their defense. Literally, exactly.
Right, like that's why I think they would go like if Zaven Collins or Musakara Amora is there
Yeah.
from Notre Dame. If Micah Parsons starts to slip, I don't think
Not
he slips
that
that.
far.
Well, so if you
I don't mean slip to him. I mean, like,
Actually,
if you
that-
slip to where you can only have to trade up 5 or 6 picks as opposed to 10 to 15,
This
it's
draft
all of a
that-
sudden a little more palatable to give up those draft picks and move up that small amount.
Well, that's why I was
This draft
assuming with Trey Lance
analysis
where they
has
dropped
it
to that
being
point
like
that they may trade up.
Yes, I don't think they're going up to 4, for example.
No,
like, I don't think they would move
I don't
up to
think-
4
I
for
don't
that
think
because
so
that's too
either.
expensive, but you're right.
If he hits 12, he may consider
Right, he
it.
gets past Carolina at
Right.
8.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no. Carolina won't go. They won't go quarterback. They're right now in a 2-year.
They'll definitely trade out, though.
I definitely think they wouldn't mind.
At this point.
I mean,
Or like-
it depends who's there. Like if they
They
can,
could take Michael Parsons.
they could. I think they should take Slater, or they got to build up that O line.
Slater is what
You have to
with
give
the Sam
Darnold every
trade, Slater
reason-
is now who
You have to
they're-
do the opposite of what the Jets did. You need to give Darnold every
Yep.
reason to succeed
Yep.
because he only has
Yep.
a 2-year tryout, and that second year is an expensive, almost $20 million year.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
That-
you
literally
need
that's what all
to
the
figure that
emotions
out, and
now
you need
is
to figure it
like-
out quickly. And you spent your entire draft class last year on defense.
You already good.
And that's what the
good
Jets
talent
need to do
around.
now. Is
Right,
You
exactly.
got good receivers. You got a hell of a running back behind him.
You
Yeah, he has a
building
great
up their left
supporting
side is
cast.
exactly what they need. So
And you're hoping that like that entire draft class last year was defense. That offseason was awful. Like these rookies did not get a chance to really get that same welcome to the NFL experience that most rookies get because of the
Yeah.
pandemic. So you would expect them
Nobody
to
got
be
hit
much
by
better week one.
Dante Hightower going over the middle.
Yeah.
Right?
Like you would expect these guys to be much better week 1 this year than they were last year, simply from even just the 16 weeks or 16 games of experience that they all got. Plus then the offseason that even if they're not having a traditional offseason, you're still in contact with your coaches.
Giants'
and your
whole
teammates.
offense is in Arizona. Saquon's rehabbing in Arizona, and DJ brought all the wideouts down there to have a throwing camp.
Which is great. Like Josh Allen did something like that last year down in Florida with a bunch of
Yeah.
people. I think that's great because it not only shows leadership, but you got to build that chemistry.
Yeah, you have to.
And especially
Like you and I are good when we play in the park because I know when you're going to cut on that slant route.
Yeah.
You know when I'm going to cut on that in route. Like we've just
you
been
know
going.
I'd rather you throw it low than hang me out to dry high.
Yeah.
So where are we at?
Well, I'm still trying to figure out. So here's a question that I have. Who do you think won the trade between Carolina and
It's
the
too
Jets?
early to tell.
yeah, I agree with that.
So initial reaction, your gut reaction when you saw that. And you saw your haul that you got for it. You saw that and you have your belief of what you think Sam Darnold can/will be.
When it happened, I was happy that we were able to trade him because I mean at this I knew we had to move on from Sam Darnold in the first place, and I knew that it was after all everything that was going on through the offseason, it was bound to happen. But this late in the offseason, now that we had the opportunity to take Sam Darnold to trade him, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with especially the report saying that we were lucky to have a 3rd or a 4th round pick. We ended up getting made a 6th this year, but a 2 and a 4 next year. I think that's a great haul.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I was reading, I think last week of the 4 teams that were interested in making the trade, ESPN I think talked to the GMs or talked to the head coaches of all 4 of them, and they said at best they'd be lucky to offer a 3rd round pick for Donald. So to be able to get that,
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like a 6th round pick for a guy that you spent a 1st round pick on.
And 3 seconds.
At least you got something.
They traded.
And then I saw that they got the 2nd and 4th next year.
I was impressed with the second. And fourth.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought
that
I
was
thought
impressive.
that was a little overpaying, but it's in the future. So if Carolina needs something now, to get a guy that when he came into the league was worth a 1st round draft pick, worth more than a 1st round draft pick,
3rd overall.
to trade a 6th round pick to get that guy on your roster, I think that's worth taking the bite for not getting a couple guys next year.
I think at this point it's good for both teams. It's good for the Jets. It's good for Carolina. It's good for Sam Darnold. He's put in a position to succeed. I mean, he's got a lot of weapons around him. A good coach, good team, good culture.
I
You
don't
see the
think him
party
and
he
Robbie
was throwing
Anderson
for
are
when
going
he
to
got
do any
traded?
better. But I do
He's
think
happy
him
about
and Curtis Samuel and DJ Moore.
Curtis Samuel's in Washington.
Oh,
Just went this offseason.
DJ
Damn.
Moore. I mean, he's still.
But
a guy.
DJ Moore is still
Yeah.
there. Christian McCaffrey is there.
Right.
yeah. I think C-Mac is going to help a lot because even
For
just
sure.
having the threat of Le'Veon Bell, Sam Darnold did better. Just have even
What threat was there?
There
Le'Veon
was-
Bell was garbage.
So it's
Le'Veon Bell was arguably the worst free
It's like
agent
pointing
signing
an
of
empty-
our lives.
it's like pointing an empty gun at someone.
like
it worked.
it's a yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a
you-
threat.
From
that-
experience, it works.
It's a threat that's not going to do anything.
Yeah, you still gotta.
Like the
respect
worst
the gun.
case scenario, they're going to throw it at you. Like Le'Veon Bell.
Oh, yeah.
Fair. No, I see what you're saying. Just having that thread and having a versatile thread, and
Been there,
hopefully
done that.
and having a coach that knows what they're doing.
And
Like
not
Joe
having
Brady,
Adam Gase is a
Right.
hell of a drug.
Yes.
That's fair.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
That's fair. I'm gonna tell you exactly.
Right
In my
there.
opinion, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold is
Yeah.
the biggest winner.
Yeah, no, yes.
Sam Darnold's easily the biggest winner
Yeah.
because he now gets one out of New York because it's not just the Adam Gase thing. The New York media, which he handled superbly.
Oh, phenomenal.
Superbly, considering the fact that he has been shat on
Mm-hmm.
since basically the day that he missed a pass in practice until now, and has not said a bad thing, has not lashed out at the media, has not given them really any reason outside of performing the way we would expect any young quarterback with crap around them to perform. And he has handled that superbly. So now he gets out of that stench that he's left here and gets a fresh start with a young head coach in Matt Rule, with Joe Brady, the OC, who had Joe Burrow that created that great year when they won the national title, and with a lot more weapons than he ever had in New York.
I'm sorry.
He's gonna be good there.
This is totally off topic.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. I still don't think. I told you he was gonna be a bust, and even if he goes to Carolina, he's still gonna be a
Yeah,
bust.
so far he is a bust.
He won because he has a chance to prove me wrong. He's not going to prove me wrong, though. The biggest winner, straight up, is the Jets.
As of right now, but I mean, if
I think it's
the Jets
also Zach
draft another
Wilson.
team, and this guy becomes the next Pat Mahomes, then the Jets won.
Let's pump
Yeah.
the
I'm
brakes
just
a
saying.
little
I'm
bit.
just saying.
Let's
so,
pump the brakes.
I think
Pat
I'm
Mahomes-
saying.
Who was the Pat Mahomes before Pat Mahomes?
You're pumping up Sam Darnold. I can't.
Oh, I'm pumping him down.
Wait,
Oh,
you just brought up Aaron Rodgers. I was actually going to bring this up. Did anybody happen to catch what happened to him last night on Jeopardy?
Oh, when they said with the question?
So the
Final Jeopardy.
The
Oh my
final
God, it was
Jeopardy. The
great.
final Jeopardy question was
Aaron
fucking
Rodgers.
great last night. He's the guest host for Jeopardy for the next 2 weeks.
Oh,
so
that's cool.
So his very first night, the returning champion from last week didn't know the answer to Final Jeopardy. So he goes, his answer was, why did
No, who
they-
wanted to kick the
Yeah,
field?
it's like-
Who wanted to kick that field goal?
Yeah, exactly. So like he's the last one, and Aaron Rodgers looks at it, and he goes, and just like he didn't.
He like
didn't know
looks
what to do.
down. He does one of those like where he has to recover, so he looks down. He smiles. He's like, "That's a real good question."
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's not the right answer for this question.
Yeah.
And how much did you wager? And the best part, in my opinion, was it was $0. And as he reads the $0, the guy who answered it stared at him in this way where it's like, I had no intention on asking.
Yeah, no,
that. I just
yeah.
wanted to see. Like he had this look of,
Yeah.
I am trying to see what how he reacts. And I'm like,
that's
the
all-
entire
that's
chair is
hilarious.
gold.
Yeah,
It was hilarious.
And apparently Aaron Rodgers was such a huge Jeopardy fan that apparently for his stint as guest host, he turned around and did like almost 2 weeks worth of like film room practice just so that he could
Like
get
a
that.
quarterback does.
He's Aaron Rodgers.
Like, yeah, exactly. He's Aaron Rodgers. So
gotta do your film study.
that he would take that job for
He
sure.
would
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed watching him because I like Aaron Rodgers. I love that dry humor and whatnot. I feel like he does have a bit of a drawl to his delivery, and so I feel like if you're gonna have that, he like Alex Trebek was very good at seeming incredibly professional, but he would cut down contestants at times, and he would.
And Jeopardy's like the kind of show like you sort of can't make those people feel stupid.
No, but you also do have to cut him down a little bit because that's one of the reasons that people like me watch the show. Like I'm gonna get 5 answers maybe the entire damn episode. So you better insult somebody else. So I'm not just sitting there insulting myself.
Alex Trebek had like a way of informing the audience that you were wrong without necessarily making that contestant look bad.
Right.
Like it was just a weird.
So Aaron Rodgers just needs to. I
Yeah.
think there's that delivery that I
And I
expect
mean, he
from
was bad.
Jeopardy,
He was just
and it's
nasty.
because when you
Yeah.
do it for almost 40 years, like it
Right.
is
Yeah.
a staple. When you think Jeopardy, you think Alex Trebek. Even before
Yeah.
the Who is, you think that man and that mustache.
Like
when
Wheel
he
of
had it.
Fortune's Pat
Pat
Sajak
Sajak
and Vanna
and Vanna
White.
White.
Yes.
If it was Pat,
If they change it up and now it's Pat Sajak and Oprah, everyone's gonna be like, "What the fuck?
Yeah, like why is
That's
that
not Vanna White."
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in this culture, we're probably going to get a lot of conflicting responses to that.
Yeah.
But that's neither here or there.
So I think another
I
big
have a
winner
line
of
for
the.
that, but I'll let it go.
I think
Good
another.
call, because we haven't figured out
It's
editing
3
yet.
words. An A is in the middle.
Yeah, we
So
Anyways.
I think another big winner of Sam Darnold getting traded out of New York is whoever they draft at 2, be it Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, because now that guy's not going to have another 23-year-old in the room with him who's like, Can't believe you missed that throw last week.
Yeah.
That's just it. Like I
But
mean,
like now there's not going to be any butting heads. There's not going to be any.
Oh, is it this guy's team? Is it that guy's team? Like, whoever they drafted, it's going to be that guy's team.
Yeah,
If they bring in Alex Smith, okay, Alex Smith might start the first few games, and then he'll roll his ankle. Everybody will hold their breath. He'll stand up, come out of the game, and then
I don't
it'll
know
be...
if I don't know if I would do that.
No, this is actually
I
a
would
good,
just throw him out there from the start.
yeah, but no, this is a good question though, because ultimately your quarterback room right now has that Morgan kid out of what was it, Florida Atlantic or Florida, one of those
James Morgan.
and
Exactly. He's out of just
and
one
Mike
of those.
White out of
Mike
Western
White.
Kentucky.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
So don't be wrong.
Joe
those-
Douglas pumped him up this week, so I mean.
Okay, yeah, that's what he's got to do. What I'm
Yeah,
saying,
like,
what I'm
I
saying
mean-
is this though. In general, I'm not saying bring in a veteran quarterback to, compete or something like that. But I guarantee Josh Allen had to have benefited from having a guy like Derek Anderson in the locker room, just to explain how you prep, show him how to break down
100%.
film, show him the
Same
ropes.
team.
He had that
The Jets do-
40-year-old dude, Josh McCown.
Yeah, Josh McCown. He's made a living the last 10 years basically being that veteran quarterback going around.
His second 10 years in the NFL.
That's true. 'Cause he retired to be a coach in like high school and then came back because Philly was like, please take our money. Was it Philly or Arizona? No, he was in Arizona when I played Madden a lot back in 05.
Yeah,
No,
when he
07.
was
But anyway,
still not
the
good.
point I was trying to get to is I think that it's definitely valuable to have that
100%.
veteran quarterback. So
Yeah.
with that being said, if you guys agree, what veteran quarterback out there? You threw out Alex Smith. Besides him, though, what other veteran quarterbacks out there are possible
Honestly, I don't even know
tutors?
who's available.
Yeah, right. Like, I
Well,
don't even know.
depending at the right price, any veteran quarterback is available. But I understand.
Teddy Bridgewater
but,
doesn't have a job anymore.
Teddy Bridgewater's looking to be traded, yeah, but you don't bring Teddy. That's a competition.
Bring him back.
That's a competition because Teddy Bridgewater is a case. I'm talking about like one of those guys that are in their upper 30s or just are not good enough to actually supplant a number 2 overall pick.
Jets trade the number 2
I mean, I honestly have to look at a list. I don't even know. I mean,
Like that's what I'm honestly, I'm thinking that's what I'm saying. Like Colt McCoy just signed with Arizona because they lost their playoff chances because Week 17 last year, Kyler Murray was hurt, and they trotted out some guy who I still can't remember the name of, and this is coming from the guy who like has this entire freaking notes because he was just not that unmemorable.
I am curious about something. Do you think Corey Davis was lied to by the Jets, or do you think Corey Davis lied to us, the fans?
Did he lie though? He just said what he.
He said he didn't lie.
What did
He
he
said
say
he
exactly?
said he was told.
He told the
Sam
truth
Darnold.
at that moment. He
Because at
didn't
that
make
moment,
anything change.
because I think he was told Sam Darnold. Because at that moment, Sam Darnold was their starter.
Apparently, they were
Okay.
trying to trade him for what, a couple months.
So then the Jets lied to
And
Corey Davis.
they didn't
I don't think they lied. I'm sure that they did that whole like.
You have
If
to-
you want to say like holistically, yeah, they
Just
lied.
like Joe
But did
Douglas
they watch
had a
their?
lie about Mike White and James Morgan, he lied
It's
about.
GM talk. They're parsing their words.
Yeah,
They're choosing very
yeah,
carefully, so that way, if
exactly.
you ever wanted to go to the record, they probably didn't technically lie, but you could basically just piss on it, for its value.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to think, what other veteran quarterbacks
I'm
are
trying
out
to find
there?
it right now.
Like,
Currently,
Like I know Colt McCoy, like I said, got picked up by Arizona. We got.
we just
We just let Matt. Honestly,
up.
we let Matt Barkley go. That would be a good one, in my opinion, for you guys to pick up because he's done a good job. He's serviceable enough to not be
Here we
the
go.
reason you lose games,
Alex,
and he's helped Josh Allen.
Here we go. Alex Smith, AJ McCarron, RG3, Matt Barkley, Ryan Griffin, Josh McCown, Geno Smith, Blaine Gabbert.
There you go. Get Geno Smith.
How about Nick Mullins?
He's there. He's there.
I
Joe
would consider
Webb.
Nick Mullins.
Sean Mannion.
Sean Mannion, no.
Brett Hundley, Blake Bortles. Yeah, okay. Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer.
Maybe
Brian
not.
Hoyer's not
Brian
around.
Hoyer.
He's had that job. He was with the Bills too, right?
No, it was the Patriots.
Patriots.
I know
He
the
was
Patriots,
with the
but-
Patriots twice, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but
He was with the Browns
that's
when
the kind of
Belichick
guy I'm
brought
talking
them.
about. That guy's not. I'm not looking for a guy who like, Zach Wilson gets hurt, who can win us games. No. I want the guy who's going to teach Zach Wilson, hey man, I know how you did at BYU. That's college. This is how you got to do it for the
Yeah.
pros. Just like,
Josh McCown's still there.
ask me questions,
I don't
bounce
think
things
he's-
off
I
of
don't
me,
think
let
he's
me be a
playing.
sounding
I don't
board.
think he is.
Yeah,
No.
I really like Brian Hoyer.
But like Brian Hoyer would be exactly the kind of guy.
Yeah,
who
no,
makes
I
a good
agree.
judgment.
I agree.
Out of those guys, I would say, yeah.
And that's a veteran minimum contract. Like these guys are not going to
I'd go
cost
with
much.
these three. I would go with Alex Smith. I would go with Nick Mullins, or I would go with Brian Hoyer. Any of those three.
There's another one
About
you mentioned.
RG3.
No.
No, I don't think that's a good tutor. Like don't get me wrong. He's a.
Why
he's
not?
One, because
he plays a different
he
kind
want-
of football.
he hasn't shown me that he can.
He's gonna think he can go out there. And
He hasn't
beat-
shown me that he has up here to
beat
be
Zach Wilson,
a
which is
NFL
ridiculous.
quarterback coach. You know what I
He
mean?
hasn't
What
been the
makes you
same
say
since
that?
his rookie season. He had one good season.
But he's been jumping around the league just like all these
He's been
other
chilling behind
quarterbacks.
Lamar Jackson, which I think is a good place for him because the skill sets are similar enough
Yeah.
where the offense doesn't have to completely transform by bringing because
Ravens,
Lamar Jackson gets hurt.
Would they bring him back? The Ravens? Would they?
I think the Ravens would
I
bring
feel like
RG3 back.
the thing is like with the Ravens, in my opinion, they're kind of pigeonholed because their offense is so unique. They need a unique like Tyler Huntley. Honestly, would be another option.
Brett
for them to
Hundley.
have. Brett Hundley, sorry.
UCLA guy, right?
Yeah. But Huntley would be another option. No, wait, Brett Hundley was
What about- what about-
Brett Hundley wasn't he the catcher for the Mets or was that Tyler? Who was the Hundley that was
That's
the
a
catcher?
boring question.
Oh,
What
it
about
was
Blake
Todd
Bortles?
Hundley?
That was Todd. Okay, that's why I got mixed up.
Did you think?
Oh, were you serious?
Yes.
No.
Why not?
Why would you take
What?
Blake Bortles?
Why not?
No, that's actually no.
No.
You that's one you
Why
mentioned.
not?
Yes.
No.
Because
Why?
again, because I
suck. They all suck.
It's
It's like
not
they
about
don't have a
being
job.
I think Blake Bortles.
What the fuck are you yelling about?
Touche. They all suck. That's why they don't have a job.
Blake Bortles, though, I think Blake Bortles is one of those guys, though, that has learned enough through his time here from his own mistakes to at least tell Zach Wilson, hey, this is how you fuck up.
That's like bringing Bobby Hart in. Like,
Why you gotta cut me down like
the
that?
only reason you bring a guy like that in is to use as like an example.
Of what?
Zach, you saw what Blake did? Do not fucking
don't
do
do
that.
that.
Could be great.
Look, I'm not saying that I
Yeah,
could
Blake
look
on talking. Do you see what
That's
Bobby
also
Hart
what a
did? You don't do
quarterback's
that.
coach is for too, by the way.
But there's
You know
something
what I'm
about but a quarterback's coach. There's something about a guy who's playing the position now who
Yeah,
there's a
Yeah.
perspective that they can provide. And
And
with
like a camaraderie thing
Like,
too.
I understand that, but if he gets hurt, you want fucking Blake Bortles going in there?
No,
It's like no.
if he gets hurt,
I
it
don't
doesn't
want, you
matter.
really want to win the game,
If
right?
he gets hurt, it doesn't matter. Your season right now does not matter except for Zach Wilson's development. And if once he gets
Oh, I'm
hurt,
tired of
it
fucking
doesn't matter.
developing quarterbacks.
Well, then get better faster.
Fucking year after year. Let's just develop
You
quarterbacks.
drafted Darnold the same year we drafted Allen. One of our teams did the right thing. It wasn't you.
All right,
So-
we don't have to go there. All right.
So wait, I'm curious. If,
Oh, we went there.
What if Carolina makes the playoffs and
Get
the
personal now.
and the Jets don't?
It's not personal.
I probably would. I don't
How
expect.
pissed off
I don't.
is Bourne gonna be?
Here's the thing. I don't
Carolina
expect
makes
the
the
Jets to
playoffs
go to
and
the
the Jets
playoffs
don't.
this year. I don't at all.
I don't either.
I don't
either.
expect the
He's
Jets to
gonna
go
be
to the
pissed
playoffs.
off if the Jets don't win 40-0 against Carolina this year.
No, it's enough.
Oh, we're buying your ticket. We're taking you
I'm
there.
curious if we're gonna get an
And I'm buying your Sam Darnold Carolina jersey, and it's
Sam
gonna be
Darnold as
glorious.
Have you guys seen the tweet that's floating around the internet now?
Which
that it's
one?
like, ooh, this didn't age well. It's 3 guys that said thank you at Giants, and they're all holding up like brand new Sam Darnold jerseys from the day of the draft. And it's like, this didn't age well.
That did not age well.
It's on the subreddit, aged like milk.
But just so we're clear, that Bobby Hart acquisition is a veteran minimum. Doesn't even count against the 51. He's not guaranteed a roster spot. And again, similar to these shitty ass
Couldn't
quarterbacks,
let that one
he
go,
is-
huh?
I can't let it go. Because don't get me wrong, I understand Bean has
Who
not.
brought that
He's
up?
not
Was it
perfect.
you? Bobby Hart?
Yeah, because he was a Giant. He's trash.
Yes, he was. He also was that entire Giants offensive line.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Eli.
That's because Wackadoo is not teaching them jack
my
shit.
God, yeah.
I can do. Oh,
Eric
no.
Flowers.
At the end of
fucking
the day,
doorman.
I'm fucking pumped for the draft.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
draft is gonna be fun.
Is
When
Patrick
is it?
got
It's,
$10 million for
20,
Washington?
22 days away. I think it's the 29th.
29th?
I think so.
Is that Thursday?
That Thursday, yeah, whatever that Thursday is.
Whatever. It's soon.
Yeah.
We'll watch it.
Yeah, it's
We
okay.
just enjoy cannabis, so we don't really remember shit too much.
Yeah, apparently coffee gets you stimulated, but doesn't exactly stimulate the memory. That would be nice if it works that way, right?
Stimulate your brain.
No, but yeah, the draft.
It'll be fun, man. It's always a good time.
Oh.
And we will be going live.
We're going live. Fuck it.
Yeah,
Going
live.
Fuck it.
Live from the draft.
Oh, we're not going to Cleveland.
No, I mean
No, why the fuck would I
When
go
you
to
said
Cleveland?
live from the draft, I'm like, well,
That's where the draft is.
live from
Live
Steve's
from
backyard.
Live from
watching
Steve's
draft.
house, watching the draft.
Yeah.
man.
So what else we got?
Well, speaking of the draft, I mean, obviously we know that Andrew's crush is Zach Wilson because he is just red with
Clearly.
passion
Clearly.
about how much love he has for the
Yeah.
Mormon Mahomes.
Yeah.
I can't believe I used that nickname. I hate that fucking nickname.
Why? It's hilarious.
Because I can't stand the idea of comparing somebody to Patrick Mahomes. You realize how like it's one of those things where
You didn't hear me
throw-
compare him.
No, I know, but it's one of those things where it's like we wanted to compare everybody to Tom Brady. We wanted to compare Matt Jones and Tom Brady. I'm like, so let me get it straight. Tom Brady was a once in a lifetime player, but this year we've got that one quarterback who's gonna get drafted in the first round.
Well, it's like every year there's a guy
That's
who has
just
a
like him.
generational talent. Every year there's a generational talent. How short are your generations, my man? Are they squirrels? Every year is a new generation.
Right, like Kyle Pitts, generational talent, because there aren't 6'6" tight ends that run a 4.4 that
Yeah.
have natural hands. That does not come around ever.
The last one was Tony
Tony
G.
Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you put DK Metcalf in the tight end position, that's what you would have.
Yeah, but why would you do that?
Same reason they keep Kyle Pitts in the tight end position. They both could play.
No,
the same
DK
position.
Metcalf plays wide receiver because he went up to Pete Carroll and went, I'm a wide receiver.
He also went up to Doug Baldwin and said, I'm number one. And
Yeah,
Doug
Doug
Baldwin
Baldwin-
hands in his pink slip the
Doug
next day.
Baldwin's like, I'm the number one
You guys
receiver.
know-
And
Did you
DK
see-
Metcalf's
did you
like, I'm the
see-
number one receiver.
Did you see the night when he got? It was either the night he got drafted or when he first met
That was
with
when he
Pete
went to
Carroll.
the
Oh, wait,
He took off his shirt too.
Did you know it was because Pete Carroll actually said that he wanted him to? Because it was Pete Carroll's idea.
Oh yeah.
Well, I thought it was DK Metcalf's idea. I found out it was Pete Carroll's idea.
Well, Pete
I thought that
Carroll's
was
just a great guy.
And he's the oldest head coach. You would never
Yeah.
guess it. You would never guess
The
it.
What
oldest-
I love about
the
Pete
oldest,
Carroll, and
youngest
you know
coach.
this, is he got in trouble after he fucked the Jets up. Sorry. And
You're
then
acting like the
We're
Jets
used
were
to it at this
some.
point.
You're acting like the
And then
Jets were
once he-
something good before he got there.
And then he went to USC.
You don't hire a new coach because you're good.
and had a phenomenal USC tenure.
Reggie Bush, Clay Matthews.
Brian Cushing was there that year.
And then he got suspended from the NCAA for paying his players. So instead of serving his suspension and then going back to coaching college football, they suspended him from college and he got a job coaching the Seahawks.
Perfect.
It was like Jordan got an 18-month suspension and went and played baseball for 18 months. And so Pete Carroll gets this suspension from the NCAA for paying his players, and then goes to the NFL where you're supposed to pay your players,
So yeah, whatever.
and then just like won the championship.
I'm curious about the Pete Carroll thing, though, just because I feel like that team definitely capitalized on the fact that they had Russell Wilson on a rookie contract, but...
Well, they also had the Legion of Boom when all of those guys were young and healthy.
And not just young and healthy, they hit... Richard Sherman was a 5th-round pick.
So was
That's-
Chancellor was
Yeah,
the-
Cam
Tim Chancellor was a later round pick, too.
You can't
Earl
play
Thomas
football
was
like Cam
obviously a
Chancellor.
first-round pick.
Yeah.
Brandon Browner,
Who's
was he a second-round pick? Was he even drafted?
You can't play football like Cam Chancellor played football.
Either way though, he hit on a lot of picks in a short
Rob's got a
period
drain
of
his
time.
lizard, so
Yeah, I
we
was
don't
just
need
saying,
to
you guys want to
break.
take a quick break? Like,
Break time.
This is the hazard of doing it live.
Fuck it.
Welcome back. We are back from... Welcome ourselves back, I guess. We're back from break.
Welcome ourselves back. Are we that pretentious?
Welcome back, Adam.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Robert.
Welcome back,
welcome,
guys.
Matthew.
Welcome back,
back.
Stephen.
Welcome back, Born.
Welcome back.
We've made now 4.5 episodes in, and we're still...
I have no idea what the fuck
Haven't-
we're doing.
But we haven't killed each other, so I guess that's a positive. Usually...
Still drinking, still smoking.
Oh
haven't
yeah, right.
died
All
yet.
5 of us being here proves we haven't killed each other.
Yeah.
Sam
so-
Darnold is no longer with the Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Donald Trump moving down south.
Which means you're going to have to think of a new fantasy name this year.
What was I using before?
Donald Trump.
No, I changed
That
it.
was 2 years ago. What did you use last year?
Levy on a jet plane. I turned.
No, that
it
was
into.
that was 2 years ago. My first one was you, Le'Veon on a jet plane.
Oh, I think I was China virus last.
You were yes,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
I'm
Speaking of
always,
that, first shot.
I'm always your real dad. Just because it's great when you're at the bar checking fantasy. Like, oh, god damn it, your real dad sucks.
Your dad. Your dad.
It is great when his team is losing, and it's like, it's not looking good for your real dad.
We'll be at the bar and we'll be like, how's your real dad doing?
He's on life support. Well, that just took a dark turn.
We still won last year, though. That's the
Yeah,
important
we
thing.
did. Your real dad did come out in the money on that one.
Yep, up a G.
Whew, and I,
Yeah. So
Okay.
my cousin Corey texted me and he's like, hey man, I need one more team for fantasy. You want to do fantasy this year? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. That'll be fun. Thinking it'll be like our league where it's like $50. And then I get a text message like 2 weeks later with myself, Corey, and 8 other dudes whose phone numbers I do not have, saying, hey everybody, welcome to the league. here's my Venmo. Send me $200 the first chance you get. I'm like, $200 fucking dollars for fantasy
Isn't
football?
ours jumping up a little bit though?
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Isn't ours
I'm
going
like,
up?
Adam, give me $100. Let's do this fantasy
Is
draft
it? I
together.
don't remember.
Yeah. And
I'm not in charge
I'm
anymore.
not the treasurer, so I don't know.
I'm not.
killed it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
the
don't
fact that we
remember.
the fact that we have an entire freaking government running
not
our
even
goddamn
That's how hard the
fantasy.
job was.
It
It is a
was
pain in the ass
no
to be
idea.
commissioner of fantasy.
It's
football.
not fun.
Warren had a full mane of hair before he started
No,
commissioning.
you two have to join our league.
If
Because
there's
it's,
spots open, I'll play.
yeah. It's
draft-
like
we
it's
draft
like a
an entire-
40-man roster.
We draft an entire defense.
40-man
Yeah,
roster.
it's none of this idea. It's fantasy football. It's
Uh,
not fantasy offense.
You draft-
So you have to draft two D ends, a D tackle, and 3 linebackers. Oh, and a down lineman.
3 linebackers.
A corner, a safety, a defensive back, a kicker, and a team defense.
What?
And a defensive player, just a general.
Oh, yeah,
What platform supports this?
ESPN.
ESPN.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
We'll send you the invite.
But yeah, we'll talk about
I'll
that
play.
because
I'll definitely play.
Because it's fantasy
I never
football.
played defense, period, in fantasy.
it's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
And,
It really is, too,
and the
because, like,
rules are
you get
different. I
weeks where it
might
comes
go
out, your
half a
defense.
PPR this year.
Like,
Good.
Because, like, I like PPR, and it makes it easier to
It makes
keep
it more
track of.
fair when you have as big of rosters as we have, and running backs are in non PPR are so much more highly favored than wide receivers because they're so finicky. It definitely levels it out a little bit more.
Full point or half point?
I'm
We've been doing-
thinking to add half point.
We've been
but-
doing none, honestly,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
why we're talking about adjusting.
but 6 points for a passing touchdown.
right,
And you
as
get
opposed
2
to-
starting quarterbacks and an offensive player, which
which-
is a super flex.
which you should use a quarterback for because they are the highest scorer.
Oh, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
No,
No,
I played in one of those
$200
leagues.
is a lot. Though.
He
Oh,
actually.
no, yeah, so that's why
That's
we
not
split
ours,
it.
that's
yeah,
what-
ours is free. Ours is
Yeah,
for
we don't-
bragging
yeah, we
rights.
play
No,
for-
no,
we-
I know. I'm getting back to your point.
We
Oh,
play
yeah,
for
no, but that's why we
Yeah,
split it,
yeah,
and then
that's-
we ended up winning it.
Yeah.
Which
With pretty much the team that or not the team, but like 2 or 3 key players, including Lamar Jackson, that D. Scott used to
Sniped.
beat me in our playoffs.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'll lose $50 to move on to win $1,000.
Yeah.
And then we won the league.
because
And so did D. Scott, and it's like, yeah, I know Lamar Jackson did well. He dropped 45 points for us this week too.
yeah, but the one thing and in case I know he's not going to watch, but Alvin Kamara, that 6 touchdown game, thank you.
Yeah.
That
Oh my
I
God.
still lost because of that.
That
I
won
still
us the
lost.
money.
Yeah.
That alone,
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara is the reason we won the money.
Still fucking lost.
Straight up, just him.
He, I had
alone.
him and Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts. One of the two.
One of the ones when they had
But
to
one of them's good, and one of them's not.
One of them plays the Philly.
No, but they did really well that last championship week, whatever that was.
It wasn't Herbert. Must have been Herbert.
Must
No,
have been Hurts.
well, no, because last week was. Oh no, wait.
No,
We
because
didn't
I
play
gave you
week
shit
17.
for sitting Herbert, so you must have played Hurts.
Yeah,
Right?
because I just remember
When you gave me
advanced.
shit when you advanced, right? Is that what happened?
But Hurts did well.
He did well enough. Yeah.
He had more points than Herbert
I
that week.
don't think he did, but
Herbert did
wanna
not
bet?
have a Herbert did not have a
You
good
wanna
last
bet?
couple
I'll
weeks.
take your
I
word
remember
for
that. I remember Herbert didn't have a last couple weeks
Stop me
because-
fired now.
yeah, in free agency, and I was like using that as solace as to be like, well, it doesn't matter. If you had gotten him, you would have lost in the
I don't
championship.
even
Except
I already lost in the Darnold trade.
Possibly.
So.
Anthony
So-
Lynn also got fired.
Not yet.
At some point.
Not yet.
Did he go
Not
out
yet.
the year, or did they make him? Did Anthony Lynn make it the entire year with the Chargers before they let him
yes.
go? Okay.
Yes, he did.
So I think next up we have our what were you calling it? Our draft crushes.
Well, I just like to talk about those just because I like talking about the things I like. But the idea being that obviously we know our GMs and they like both for our teams, and obviously Gettleman was with Carolina before the Giants, Douglas was with Philly before the Jets, and same with us. Bean and McDermott were Carolina before.
Yeah.
Actually, we're with Gettleman. Fun fact: I found out that Gettleman actually his first NFL job was a scout for the Bills.
And I know he had a.
Did not know that.
I think he was one of the scouts that scouted Eli for the Giants also.
Oh, okay.
Because that's why he wanted to come back and be a Giant, was because he had history with the franchise.
That guy sucks, man.
Gettleman?
Yeah, I can't.
This guy gets Joe Douglas for 2 years and thinks that he all of a sudden can beat his chest that he's got a good front office.
No, not exactly. I just think Gettleman's a fucking idiot. That's all.
I mean,
Just me.
you just had Adam Gase.
When,
So-
when did I ever say one nice thing about him?
Stay in your
Or-
lane, bro.
Or
It
Todd
is an
Bowles?
interesting it is interesting though that like when you try to ask somebody to prove a point, the default is to just insult the other point as opposed to actually supporting their own. I feel like that's just something that the world can probably learn from.
It's COVID. That's COVID. COVID brain.
COVID brain.
But so we've had a little bit of history kind of thing to try to figure out, and this is something that I really wanted to dive into specifically because with the Bills picking at 30, it's a fucking crapshoot. Like I'm having such a hard time with mock drafts of where we're gonna go, and Bean doing such a good job of filling in at least the depth pieces where we don't have a glaring need that says if you do not fill this, you cannot make the playoffs, for example.
And I said it before off camera. Last year, I think they nailed it with their first round draft pick by trading it for Stephon Diggs.
Which to Minnesota, who then used it on Justin Jefferson.
Who probably was the best not quarterback rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. I still would take Diggs over him, so I think but, that's also because we have a young quarterback and I'd rather an established wide receiver. And they get along so
It helped
well.
Josh Allen.
Having Justin Jefferson probably wouldn't have helped him.
Not
to
that extent. Him and Diggs were like puzzle pieces.
Right.
Like
They
they came in and clicked.
They connect so well. Like they're playing video games all the damn time. Like they actually legit like each other.
Not like
And-
Christian Hackenberg. They're not playing Madden to learn how to play football.
No, they're playing like Call of Duty, so that way they know how to snipe those motherfuckers on the
So
field.
do you think the Bills go best player available? Do you think they trade out?
So I think there's a
What do you
couple. I think there's a couple positions that they're definitely looking at. Edge is definitely one of the big ones. Cornerback, especially CB2, is a big one. Linebacker was something I was looking at, like a Zaven Collins or something like that. But I feel that with extending Milano, and while I understand like there's some people who are out on Tremaine Edmonds, I feel like the Bills are not, and that's the important thing. Is as long as they're not going to use a first round pick on another linebacker, especially because we come out of nickel a lot.
I'm not out on Tremaine Edmonds either. I think like the guy's a physical beast, and he's super young.
That's
Like,
what I was gonna say. He's still.
He was the one. He was still
20
20
when he came into the league.
Yeah, like
Right.
he's not going to be 26. He's going to be 25, I think, when his second contract comes up, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
He's
like,
got time, man.
On my Bills mock, I had them taking Greg Newsome.
okay.
With their first pick, just because like you said it earlier, Levi Wallace is like a serviceable 2. And for a guy who came into the league either undrafted or super late in the draft,
Undrafted, you're right.
so for him to even step up and be a solid number 2, definitely a hit, but you can still improve on that.
Right, just because you have somebody who's good does not. You should always be looking to improve everything about your team. Those are the good GMs, the ones who are always looking to improve. Like we were talking about the Raiders. Like, Derek Carr is good, but if you think Trey Lance is an improvement, you do what you can to improve the most important position.
Or even if it's a lateral move and you're going to save money if you can own a car.
So
Right.
you've been talking
Kinda like-
mostly about defensive players. So you anybody on the offensive side?
So
I really like Jimmy Morrissey. This guy's if he gets drafted, he's gonna go super late. I brought him up last week. As far as one of the players that I really like, he won the college award for like best walk-on player, and to do that, like, it takes grit.
and to play O-line at Notre Dame, like that's like.
Quentin Nelson, Mike McGlinchey.
Yeah, like Notre Dame has not given us some of the greatest skill position pros recently, a couple good ones, but it seems like when it comes to the trenches, they are just a
Foundational
factory for
Yeah.
turning out, if not great, at least serviceable. And then you get
Yeah.
like the Quentin Nelsons and
Yeah.
like McGlincheys.
Right.
But even if you get a mediocre O-lineman, the
Right.
league is starving for mediocre O-line play.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like shit, Bobby Hart just got re-signed.
Will you stop harking on that one? You're just butthurt because he was not good for you.
He was
You know who
trash.
else wasn't good for you? The other 50-something players that were on that roster.
Eric Flowers was very
Oh
not
my
good.
god.
So like when
When the Giants were like him and
What did you
Bobby
say?
Hart
Very
were-
not good.
Yeah, they were very not good.
Bad would be the
Where
easy
is he
one.
now?
I don't know. He's
Eric
probably
Flowers
a doorman
playing-
at another building in New York, just holding the door open and letting everybody
Eric
come
Flowers
in.
was playing. He played guard for Washington and Miami. I forget what
was
order,
like a
and I
swing-
think
He's still with Miami.
Miami now. Okay.
Yeah.
He was like a screen door, man. He really
He's like the
was.
turnstile. Like you swipe your Metro card, and Eric Flowers just lets you back there to sack the quarterback. He's not good.
When it comes to the
He
offensive
was
side,
very not.
when it comes to
He
the
was
offensive
very
side for Buffalo, the only thing
First round.
First round. The only thing I can think of is if we're not able to trade back and these guys are gone, O-line is always a good one to get because I feel like we've been bringing in these guys because while I liked the Cody Ford pick,
I don't know
he
why.
just hasn't shown,
Wait,
he hasn't
so
locked
maybe?
down his position yet. He was originally drafted to be a right tackle, and there was questions about his ability to handle the speed rushes on the end, and he's proving that he's not necessarily capable of doing it consistently. So ultimately, and a lot of people thought that he'd be better at guard, which is usually the safe ball. If you get a slow tackle, I can't cut it there. Let's move him inside.
and I think he's doing pretty well. He was a little bit banged up last year. I think that this is the year where he'll hopefully really lock it down. If not, I'm happy to see, like, I'm glad to see that Bean is not hesitant to bring in competition and say, hey man, I know we drafted you second round a couple years ago. That doesn't mean that every year you're handed the starting job. Like, you have to prove it all constantly. So, that's where I would look.
None of the tight ends.
I mean, unless we trade up for Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, assuming Kyle Pitts is not an option.
You should
Yeah,
send me that link
Brevin-
so I could read your article.
My
man's
it wasn't an
learning-
article, it was just a comment where I tried to blow up the comment section. I'll write an article, though, just for the sake of it, just to kind of... Because I got to do a little more research on what it would cost to get up there.
So Adam occasionally writes articles for BuffaloRumblings.com.
Yeah.
The SB Nation
Buffalo
Bills.
One of those fan posts that everybody just hates because they think I'm pretentious, but let's be honest, I know I am. No lies here.
I'd say, what was his name? Fuck, the guy from Clemson, the wideout.
Oh, Amari Rodgers.
Amari Rodgers is another guy who, like, middle of the draft, late day 2, early day 3 guy. I think he's going to be very good also. Like,
For the Bills you're talking about?
No, I'm just saying.
Are we still on the Bills or are we on the
I thought we were
Giants?
doing the draft crushes.
Well, I mean, we're kind of...
For your team, right?
Like,
Oh, I thought we were just talking...
just in general. For
Oh,
it
so
doesn't
cool.
really matter.
Yeah, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If we're going crushes, it's not going to be a first rounder because I have my hearts on the safeties. I've always just had a soft spot for safeties in general. That's not going to be a first round pick for the Bills. If anything, like, but the thing I was looking at for first round is, and this is something I found interesting. The Bills have drafted 2 defensive ends, and they brought in Efe Obada recently, who not a draft pick, but a young guy that they kind of brought in. Him, AJ Epinesa, and Darryl Johnson, later round pick. All of them are 6'6". So bringing in length, and Tremaine Edmonds also at 6'5".
He's a huge guy.
You're noticing that McDermott is very well aware of passing lanes and getting your hands up. The Bills actually were one of the best teams at batting passes down at the line of scrimmage. And so obviously playing those passing lanes is an element of the defensive mindset that McDermott has like kind of instilled in the defensive players. So I feel like that length is something he looks for. And when I'm looking at that, that's when I start looking at like a Gregory Russo or Jalen Phillips, because those guys are around that 6'5" range. They're lanky, and they're potentially, because of their injury histories, they might actually be available closer to where the Bills are picking.
Rousseau should be available at 30, unless if someone takes a shot on him.
Well, like the Jets could quite possibly take a shot at him at 23
They could.
because they've needed an edge presence since John Abraham left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think they will, but yeah.
I don't think so. But so, like, that's when I start looking at that, because, like, one of my crushes, honestly, is that Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia. I really like that kid because he's just got such a good quick step. He's got good bend. He's got that thing where it's like, that's something that the Bills have never had.
He's a bulldog.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Which counts, yeah.
But, like, so I like him, but he's only about 6'3". So if I'm going by the history, my guess is that's not the defensive end prototype that a first-round pick would be used on by Bean. He's going to be looking for those bigger guys. Like, even Kwity Paye, I think, is, like, 6'4", 6'5". He's somebody I'm just so torn on, because I started off loving him, and then the more and more I look into him, I'm wondering if he's just,
He's a high floor, low ceiling guy.
I was wondering if it was even opposite. If he's, like, a potential high floor, high ceiling, low floor guy. I'm wondering if it's one of those. Like, it's one of those I just can't get a read on him, personally. I thought he was going to be like this. I couldn't believe that he's being available in mock drafts as late as he is.
He is now. He's dropping. He used to be a top 10 pick, and now you can find him Jets can find him at 23 and 34. Actually, I found him today at 34.
I mean, Cleveland Farrell fell a whole year in the draft.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not unheard of.
But he was taken
fourth. By, again, that Mike Mayock character that I mercilessly slayed earlier. He should not have quit his day job. But, I mean, neither should we, so. But that's where I think we're going. If we're talking about crushes, though, like I said, safeties, and this brings up the length thing, Nasir Al-Din out of Florida State.
Okay.
This kid is 6'3" that plays safety. And he's got such really good athleticism for that size. And you don't get that size playing safety. And if you're talking about like that, he's kind of like reminds me of a Derwin James type, where he is like that positionless type of player. He can play.
He's gonna get hurt all the time?
No, don't say that. I love Derwin James too, which is a shame. But
I've had him on my dynasty bench for 3 years running.
That's because I tried to trade him for him, and you won't trade him to me.
Eventually he's going to be healthy.
I know, and I want him to be on my team when that happens.
But anyway, the point being that he's got to work on some things like being the single high safety and whatnot. But the Bills, the one thing that's great about the safety duo is that Poyer and Hyde, while they do have their strengths, they can play both roles. They can play in the box, they can play deep, they can play split zone, they can do it all. And I think while Nasir has some weaknesses, he can do all of those things similarly as well. And if you've noticed, the Bills cannot stop freaking tight ends. We haven't been able to for 2 years, and Kelsey had a field day in the middle of the field
because you guys used to go against Gronk.
Yeah.
Nobody could stop Gronk.
We've had a lot of trouble.
But you're right, like, we weren't able to stop him.
That's always been the thing with the AFC. It's like the Bills, the Jets. Like,
We've had trouble with
how many times have our teams gone after, like, you know, the inside linebackers and, like, you know, over the middle, trying to stop the two tight end set from New England? How many
Right,
years?
and
The
so
Jets overdrafted Aaron Lee.
And here it comes again.
Yeah, exactly. Here it comes again.
Just loaded on it. Yep.
Like,
But well, at the end of the day, the tight end, like the game has obviously evolved. Like it used to be the fact that teams had a middle linebacker that was like this plotter that was just a downhill, like I'm gonna knock
6
your
inches
teeth
in a
out.
cloud of dirt.
Yeah. And so what was the counter? Like New England showed it very well. We're gonna get receiving backs and these scat backs, and we're gonna try to get the running back versus the linebacker matchup where you are not good in space and our running back is. And James White made a freaking career out of it. Shane Vereen made a career while he was there out of it.
Leon Washington for the Jets made a career out of catching.
Danny Woodhead.
yeah.
For both the Jets and the Patriots. So that was it. Now what we're seeing
that
is
Leon
that
Washington.
tight end matchup, that Darren Waller, that Kelsey, that Kittle, like Hunter Henry, if you want to say, Zach Ertz before a couple years ago, Gronk. Those guys who are big and fast and just like the typical 6-foot safety can't cover him, the 5'10" cornerback can't cover him, and even the 6'3" linebacker that is probably, you know, just not nearly as athletic as a tight end can't cover him. So that's the way it's going. And with that, so
Or if a corner covers him, you can't tackle him off the bat.
right.
Right? Because the guy who's 5'10", $180, you're really going to expect him to tackle someone.
Gronk.
Yeah, right, exactly.
All those 6'4", 250 is like your average tight end.
Or the tight end can just box him out type of thing. So you need that tight end neutralizer, and like you need more than just one. You can't have one guy that follows. It's not like the days of Darrelle Revis where you could just say cover that guy and 10 of you guys play zone and Darrelle Revis play man, and it worked.
Those are the days.
So like, but in my opinion, if we could get to Cyril Dean and we have Tremaine Edmonds at 6'5", and we can kind of create this tall bracketing around these offenses that are really tight end centric, I think it would take our defense to that level where we might actually be able to beat Kansas City. Because I think our offense can be explosive enough. Our defense just had no answers for Kelsey.
That's why I like Sean Wade from Ohio State. I think he played outside. He played outside corner last year for Ohio State, and he fucking sucked. But the year before, he was playing nickel and fucking killed it. He's 6'1", I think 200-pound cornerback at the nickel position. That can cover your tight ends. I think that's a great spot for the
So
Jets.
then do you think that we go linebacker then with our second pick in the first round?
Sean Wade right now is going in mocks in like the 4th round.
Well,
Yeah,
no, I'm
he's
saying
gonna
like,
drop.
but I'm just saying like us right now because we were talking about the tight end position becoming bigger and bigger and like how New England has that again.
I think.
Do you-
I think we take one later, not in the first
Okay.
round. No.
I will throw this one out only because I saw this. I thought it was really interesting. Zayvon Collins
That's where
had the best pass defense like rate of something. I forget the stat, but the best in college measured in like the last 15 years, above Eric Kendricks, who we now have seen is one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL.
CBS's mock draft calls Collins Anthony Barr 2.0. You know,
I think he's better than Barr. I think he's a little
well,
bit more.
yeah, and that's
The cool thing about Anthony Barr is that the
when he
guy's like
backed out of
7
our
feet tall.
I think
And Josh Allen hurt him.
Yeah.
Listen,
right?
it would be great.
The Jets need to protect Zach Wilson or
Yes, they
Justin
do.
Fields or whoever it is.
Yeah.
we
Mac
can't.
Jones.
We can't do.
Tanner Morgan.
We can't do like we did with Sam Darnold.
That has to be
Sounds good.
priority number one. And that's what
quarterback O-line.
something we should be going offense for the first 3 picks.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Yeah,
Two.
Right. Because you don't want to make the same mistake of not
Right.
giving
Right.
Wilson a chance to develop the way
In
Darnold
a
had.
perfect scenario, if Creed Humphrey is available at 23, that'd be great because we could take him and then McGovern can go to guard, right? And I think we're solving 2 positions at once with that, and that gives us the freedom at 34 to go somewhere else. If they decide a wide receiver drops to us at 34, or if Joe Douglas wants to take another offensive lineman at that point, I'd be okay with.
You really trust McGovern that much? You really like him that much? He was terrible last year, man.
Being next to
I would like him better
Being
at
next to
guard than I
Makai
would.
Becton is also
I know
going
you
to hide
said,
a lot
I know
of.
that, but
Yeah.
it's just.
like it'll cover up for a lot.
I don't think it matters.
Plus the contract that he's on, he's not going anywhere. The other two guys can.
I know he's not going anywhere.
You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather
watched
try.
him. It was not, he was very not good.
I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. But I think we can at least take a
That's
shot.
going to be a thing, isn't it?
It's
He's very
Oh,
not
yes.
good at all.
No, but all right.
It's
If you
just
want to
how I
move him,
talk.
if you want to move him to guard, all right, I guess, because he's not going anywhere.
Years.
But I would keep that leash thin on him. You know
I
what I'm
agree.
saying? If you want to get take Humphrey, right? Move McGovern over to guard. I
right.
guess technically you're solving two problems there.
Hopefully, that's. I mean,
But,
Who's your left guard now? Or the guard
Alex-
that he was...
Alex Lewis and
Lewis is gone, right? I think he had that mental breakdown. Did you ever hear about that? He tried to fight Joe Flacco in the parking lot after practice or
I
something.
mean,
A lot of
Joe
people probably had it covered.
Yeah, a lot of people
probably want to fight Joe Flacco.
But
I heard a lot of speculation, but I
Yeah.
never put my.
I never thought any of it was true.
I don't know if he's gone. I think he is gone.
Because he wasn't playing. He
Because-
wasn't even dressing for a couple weeks.
Yeah, well, they said it was a personal thing, and then it
Right.
came out later that it was mental health outbursts or some
Okay.
shit. So,
So Van Rotten is the other one.
Van Roten, yeah, he's not.
He's not good either. He's very
yeah.
not good.
Well, because the thing is
I
this.
don't
Well, what it is that you guys got a bunch of offensive linemen that would be good backups, but they were forced to start
Right.
because you didn't have any other talent really
Right.
there. So now hopefully is the opportunity to bring in slightly superior talent, or at least on par talent that can develop to be better, and eventually kind of like take over, and then these guys will have an overpaid backup role, but that's what you have to do when you're one of the lower teams. Like the
Right.
Bills had to overpay for a lot of people just to get them into Buffalo for a long
So
time.
you got a stud at left tackle. Is Fat coming back this year? For
George
right?
Fant, yeah, he's still back.
All right, he was
He was-
fine. He was
his
fine.
contract is too big.
He's fine at right tackle. I'm fine with
I was
keeping him.
actually surprised how good he was. Like,
Me too, 'cause he was not
he
good in
He was
Seattle.
very not
What
good.
was that,
in
left
Seattle.
tackle?
very not good in Seattle.
He's at left tackle. So
Which says a lot because that's
Yeah, that's true. And
That's
true.
all right. And so you want to, ideally, yeah, I would agree. Put Humphrey at
I
center.
think
if there's
I really
a
like
good
Creed Humphrey.
center
Everything
available
Creed
at
on him.
23,
Yeah,
I would
take him.
I would
take
take
him. I would too.
I think Landon Dickerson is the other.
I do like Landon Dickinson
Yeah.
a lot.
So he also has a larger injury history.
Yes, he does.
They also who'd they pick up for depth from the
Feeney, the
Chargers?
guy with the fucking
Dan
mullet.
Feeney,
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about that fucking.
No,
Guy.
I'm
here's
just
the
saying
I like the neck roll.
for depth.
I just think it's cool.
He was I
I'll
think
take
he was
Warren Neck roll.
statistically
Mike
the
Allstott
worst
Warren
center
Neck
in the
roll.
league last year. Some shit like that. So this
That
guy
is
is just like
very not good.
very not good. So
Wait,
I'm
who
not
was?
even worried. Feeney.
Feeney also isn't a
just
center.
picked
He was a
him
guard coming out of Indiana, and he's just
Yeah.
been similar to Forrest Lamp because that's who the Bills also
Man,
just
I
recently
love
picked up.
Lamp.
But they were
I love
both offensive linemen, like day two
Lamp is
picks
bad.
by San Diego, then San Diego, so I can say it. And I thought they were actually pretty good prospects. Injuries just kind of derailed them, and they never really were able to get their footing. So don't get me wrong. I think at this point, Dan Feeney and Forrest Lamp's kind of ability to become above average starters in the league is probably gone. But you're not projected to be a second round pick if you don't have natural talent. I
Yeah.
feel so. Even if you're one of those where you pick him up and he becomes a good backup again. If you have a bunch of good backups, sure, that's not good, but you build continuity with a bunch of good backups, and you already have a top 50 percentile offensive line in the league because everybody's struggling to find that talent.
And hopefully one of the guys, if you have 6 backups on your offensive line, hopefully one of them at least is like,
Yeah.
you know what, I'll take the step. I'll be a leader, and then like they just
That's
push
gonna be
them.
Mekhi Becton because he's the
It is
best.
Mekhi
Well, I'm
Becton.
so,
So you have Makai Becton, and then
He
I'm
walked
playing
in.
the
He
other
walked
4
in
guys.
and said, "I am the."
Yeah, I'm the captain now.
No, I like your
Everybody
approach.
else was like,
though.
"See you at the fight."
If it's definite, obviously it's gonna be Wilson.
He walks
too.
in and like the door frame expanded.
It's gonna be-
We gotta protect the
Yeah, like a cartoon, he walks.
It's like,
We have to address.
I have something.
You can't let it
Here, my
happen.
bad. Born, what were you saying? What were you saying?
No, I was saying I like what he was. I agree with his approach. So if they definitely take Wilson at 2 or whoever the quarterback is, most likely Wilson. If they don't move around at all, then yeah, I would definitely draft. I would address the line either as a center guard, whatever it is.
Well, what about
23.
what about this though? Because we've been seeing in mocks recently with Caleb Fairley, who was originally like the number 1 cornerback. He sat out sat out this past year
Had
because
that,
of
like,
COVID and
back
whatnot.
surgery, right?
Had back surgery, and back surgery is one of the few surgeries where that gives me an immense amount of pause. For
Was it a
prospect
full
man out there.
backiotomy? Did he?
I gotta check with Dave Chappelle on
the
that.
doctor say he needs a back.
Oh, Becky out of me, man. Full back.
Caleb Farley falls at 23.
23.
I'm not gonna lie, I would
Him or
definitely
Humphrey?
consider
Him or Humphrey?
Humphrey.
Humphrey.
Okay,
Humphrey.
that was where I was gonna get because like
Because I don't think Humphrey's really gonna fall to that either. I mean, at this
he's more
point,
like interior linemen are more likely to fall than cornerback.
Yeah, especially him
But
being.
now, what
What if-
is going to be the situation now that Darnold's gone and we're definitely going to draft a quarterback? You got to protect this kid. You have to.
Right.
It's most
So you take
important.
Creed Humphrey at 23, and then
If it's Landon Dickerson, the only the top center, I'd probably consider.
What about what's his name? The guy you like from Ohio State, Wyatt.
He's not a center.
No, he's a guard. He's
yeah.
a strictly guard. Oh, so you're looking for somebody who can play center.
Yeah, because I'd be killing two positions
I got
at
you.
once.
Because
You think McGovern's gonna
you're
move
basically
to
just
center?
taking
I
McGovern
think
out of the
he-
starting lineup.
No.
Right.
No, he's moving him to
No, I'm
guard.
moving
He's
to
thinking
guard.
McGovern's
Oh,
going
okay.
to thrive.
If I
at
take him
guard.
to guard now, I still have two positions.
Gotcha,
Hopefully, because I think he would be a much better guard than he was a center.
Was
He's
he
a
a
good
center?
offensive
Which
lineman.
was he in Denver? Because that's where he came from,
He
right?
was
Was
a
he,
very not good center.
was he a center or a guard in Denver before he came over to you guys?
He was. I think he was originally a guard.
That's what I
Then he
thought.
played center.
No, I like
Okay.
it. I like
Because
it.
I thought he was a guard when you guys picked him up, but that's why when you guys just started talking about him as a center, I'm like, I must have not watched the games
Yeah,
closely
he's-
enough because I did not know that you guys moved him to center.
Yeah.
So you brought up a good point off camera. Born, you used to play center. With
Yes.
Creed Humphrey being a lefty,
Uh-huh.
is that going to impact the connection
Shouldn't.
because the snaps coming from the opposite?
Yeah, with a
hand?
different spin maybe. Like I don't know if there's a spin when the action.
I mean, they all snap differently, but as long as the quarterback gets the laces, either way, it's still, like he said off camera, it's not like throwing or catching a baseball. I mean, quarterback is right here,
Show the hands on camera.
so like this, underneath the center's ass, it shouldn't matter.
You're still catching the ball like this
yeah.
rather than this.
But that's
way.
that's when you're under center.
Okay.
Let's look at the NFL now, where basically 60% of the snaps are being taken in the pistol or shotgun
Shotgun, I don't think that should matter either.
because the spin of the ball coming is going to be in the opposite direction. That's the only reason I was asking.
I don't
Shouldn't
think
matter.
it should matter, no.
Okay.
It's still going like this.
Well, it would be going this way actually.
You still have a chance to either catch it from here.
Yeah,
here.
no, I got that. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I got you. I just I remember reading something about how since he's a lefty, somebody had a concern about it, and I'm thinking, well, looking at
It's
me,
more
I've obviously never played
It's more
organized
speculation than
It
anything
could be
else.
nitpicking, right?
Like
Yeah,
if a guy's like, and everything I'm reading on Creed Humphrey, he's a pure center. It's not like he would be a very not good guard. You got to keep him
Oh, I
at
thought he
center.
Oh, really?
That's everything I've been seeing. You may be seeing other stuff, and
I haven't
Why-
read. I haven't
You're
read
one of
that
my
he's
main
not a good
sources.
guard.
I haven't seen anything like that. I just assumed that if you can play
Humphrey?
center, you can definitely play guard because I thought center would be more difficult than guard.
so he's
You have
not.
to have quicker
It
hands.
is.
He's not the
because
he's
it's
not
harder
the
to-
most athletic guy.
You have to
What
you
I'm
have to hike
reading
the ball
about Creed
plus guard the,
Humphrey-
guard the guy in front of you.
Yeah.
What I'm
You
reading
have to be
about
way
Creed
quicker.
Humphrey
is that he doesn't win by being a better athlete. He wins because he's a better center. Like he's a technician at what he does. So he's not the fastest guy. He's not the strongest guy. He's just always in the right place.
And hopefully he gets faster and stronger once you get to that NFL weight room and that eating regimen. Because at the end of the day, you could be
Yeah,
a
the
great
nutritionists.
Because you could be a great technician, but the second you all of a sudden now have to block guys that are 40 pounds heavier of muscle than you've been doing your entire time in college,
Yeah.
technique will only
Everybody
get you
is now
so
the
far.
best guy you had to block in college.
exactly.
So now all of a sudden you can have technique, but you got to build strength on top of that. And if you're strong, you got to build technique. You can't
Yeah.
be just coming to the party with one of those. But
So yeah, I like Creed Humphrey at 23.
Same here.
Yeah.
I like him a lot.
Got to go offense, like you said.
and I agree, you got to do something to just
Well,
develop
he-
Wilson.
Every year,
Caleb
though, you
Farley's
have guys
there
that drop.
at 34.
If Farley's there, where?
If Farley's there at 34,
Yeah.
you gotta take him.
Yeah, I would take him.
First,
Still, I would consider. It depends on who else is on the board.
What other positions? So hypothetically, you got Wilson
would
at 2,
love-
you get Creed Humphrey at
The
23.
first 4 picks, I would love to go offense.
All offense. So, like,
All offense.
So when you say skill positions, O line, like,
Amon
what
Ross,
specifically?
Amon
But
Ross
just
and
remember,
Brown.
corner is a big time problem as well. So
100%.
If Farley's
100%,
there, you
but
might
here's-
have
Guys
here's
are the
a-
Jets.
here's the
Everything is a big time problem.
That's point number 1.
stay in your lane, bro.
He's gonna
We
take every
cannot
line
do-
and use it against you.
We cannot do to Zach Wilson / Justin Fields that we did to Sam Darnold. We have to give him a line, and we have to give him weapons. We
Yeah.
have to do it
We
as
just
soon as possible.
we have some weapons now. I mean, would they signed Corey Davis?
But this is
That's
a-
solid.
Yeah,
I'm still
this
not.
This is a deep
it's
wide
still-
receiver class.
I know. I'm just saying, like
This is a deep. Like when people are talking about Terrence Marshall Jr. going at the end of the first round, you know that guy was brought to LSU to be the guy, and if it wasn't for injuries, he would have been the guy with Chase.
I think a
Jamar
lot of
Chase
guys
and
have
with Justin Jefferson, but he kept getting pushed to the side because the injuries was never able to catch up, and that kid is going to go lower than he probably should.
You're going to see 20 wide receivers in top 100 rankings all across the NFL.
Do you think that's a product of the way the game's evolving though, where it's so pass happy?
100%. You're playing. You're
Which
not in the
fantasy football has a huge impact on that too.
You're not in the wildcat offense like you've been seeing for a long time. You know.
Yeah, it's really interesting though, because like that's where I feel like why wide receiver. Like first off, we see that the hit rates on wide receivers actually increase when you get to like that second round or whatnot. But you bringing up Amari Rodgers was a really like one that rang with me because I was reading this one thing where it was comparing Amari Rodgers to Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver out of Florida, who some are projecting to be like an end of first round draft pick. And Amari Rodgers being a mid-round. And I'm looking at it, and this guy basically makes a point where it's like, hey, they are incredibly similar. And for a projected first versus projected third-round pick, the value is just all with Amari
Rodgers
number one wide
is
receiver
5'9",
in
and
Clemson.
Tony's 6 foot, ain't he?
He's 5'9.5".
No, so yeah, he's small. He's a little bit small.
Stay in your lane, bro.
6 foot is not something that all of a sudden tells me, oh, that makes you. You're 6 foot, so that means that you are now echelons above a 5'9" guy. No, when you hit 6'2", now you start to getting into the argument where your size actually is a benefit. But once you're below that, like Jamar Chase, I love the kid. I think he's going to be great. Being at 6'1", he's got his work cut out for him. Because he doesn't have just the natural gift of having a larger window for you to hit, like Kyle Pitts, who has freaking pterodactyl arms, and basically like Johnny Manziel might have actually had a chance at a career if he had 3 Kyle Pitts as receivers on offense.
Anybody would. I would have a chance at a
He had Mike Evans in college, and look how well he did. He needed just a big ass mofo that could make up for the fact that he wasn't good.
That's fair.
I don't see it that way. I see it as being a bigger difference than you see it. But,
Between the 6 foot and 5'9".
5'9", yeah.
True.
Because you're talking about wingspan, you're
guy
talking
bought
about
a
2 slot
mafia
receiver
bar.
guys that need to get in front of the corner quicker than anybody else because you have the length.
But you're saying that? But are you saying though that the size of Kadarius Toney is that much of an advantage that you would be willing to spend that much more premium draft capital on him versus Amari Rodgers?
You talking about a second versus a third or a fourth?
I'm talking about like a first versus a third.
I would never take him in the first anyway. But if you're talking about the top of the second, yeah.
Sure, top of the second versus like a end of like a mid to late third.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
I don't know what.
Even though it's something I would not do.
No, I got you.
Can I just point out
I got
that
you, but
like
given the two
the
choices,
Clemson
quarterback is going to go first overall, and the reason your quarterback goes first overall is because he completes passes to people.
No, this guy just walked on 6'5" with long blonde hair, and everybody said he was going to be the first overall pick before he threw a freaking pass.
He also won a national championship at 18 years old.
Clemson won a national championship while he was the quarterback at 18 years old. Let's not act like that team was not Alabama of the Carolinas.
I mean,
or that is where
it's
that
still
is where Clemson is, right?
a lot to. You're talking about the mental fortitude of these guys, and it's still to go through that, to handle it the way he handled it. That's. Do you think he?
I did really like him.
Here's a
love
legit
him.
question,
Coming out of
okay?
Colorado.
Does Trevor Lawrence continue to grow his hair, or at some point do you think he shaves it? Like
I think he keeps it. I think he keps it down to the middle of the numbers.
Really?
Yeah.
Just so you can see it past the helmet.
No, middle of the numbers.
Oh,
He's
down.
No,
middle.
yeah, it's in the middle of the numbers.
I don't think he lets it go that. I think he just lets it get right past the shoulder
Unless he
pads.
has to shave it, which like when you let Gardner Minshew be your quarterback, like you gotta let this guy keep his hair.
He's
long.
gonna
His mullet's
trim it
getting nice,
because
by
the
the way.
hair. If the hair touches the shoulder pads, it's considered part of the uniform.
Even if your hair doesn't touch your shoulder pads, it's considered part of your uniform.
Yeah, you can grab
But
it.
you know, but like when
Marshawn Lynch got tackled by his dreads once, and like
Yeah.
when
Marion
he got
Barber did too.
when he got
Yeah,
up, there were like 3 dreads on the ground.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You're allowed to do
Marion
that. Like
Barber.
you're allowed to like pull hair.
yeah, your hair's
Yeah,
part of your
part of
uniform.
Part of your uniform. Yeah.
he's gonna have to.
But I'm sure the first time someone tackles Trevor Lawrence by his hair, by those lovely golden locks, they're getting a 15-yard penalty.
Most
Who
likely.
sacks Trevor Lawrence first? What?
Who sacks Trevor Lawrence
Well, I
first?
guess we can't really know that until the
Who's in their
Who's their first preseason game?
Yeah, like
We don't know.
Who's
yet.
their first game? So
Preseason
that it
game?
counts.
What's up?
The game.
Oh, we're
one,
talking
so
about
that it
regular
counts.
We know the opponents, but we don't know the,
Yeah, we don't know
the
any
actual
others yet.
dates.
My guess is everybody's going to be playing divisional games week 1 because it's a way to just drum up a lot
usually
of
do that.
activity.
It's
For
a way to
they've been doing
start
that
and end the
recently. I thought like we've been playing the Jets week 1
So
a
Jackson.
couple times the last year.
So Jacksonville's got who?
Jacksonville's got Indy, Houston, and Tennessee.
I mean, if it's Houston, he's not getting sacked. So then if it's...
You might get sacked if Deshaun Watson wants to. Okay, that was a little inappropriate.
I'll go out on a limb here. If they play the Colts, I'm going to say Henry Anderson, former Jet.
Wait, he's back with the Colts?
No, wait.
It's probably
we got him
if it's the
from the
Colts,
Colts.
it'll be
No, I went to
Darius
New
Leonard,
England. Never
probably.
mind. Fuck.
He went to New England?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, he's with the Patriots now. That sucks.
Oh, it's gonna be. I'm gonna say Bud Dupree. Tennessee.
Is he on
But
Tennessee?
Dupree's on Tennessee now? I really like him.
Yeah.
I think they
I
overpaid
hope-
for him, but I think he's one of the first high-profile pass rushers I thought of in that division. So that's what.
Is he ready to play? Because when did he have his injury? Was it last year or the year before?
Last year. So you're right. Maybe not the best call, but like I said, it was the first high-profile
first
name I
big
thought
guy,
of. That's an edge player in this division. The first one I thought of was Josh Allen for Jacksonville. So I was like, but unless we're counting practices, and he's wearing a red jersey at that point, so I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
Josh Allen's not.
Better
on
not
it.
get hit, yeah.
But
It'll be fun to watch him play,
Do you
man.
think Farley falls out of the first round?
that's a good question.
He's a second-ranked corner.
If they keep talking shit like his back is a real problem. Yeah, it's
But
possible.
the thing is, like, when you get towards the back end of the first round, you have a lot of teams like if I'm, for example,
Buffalo at 30.
yeah, if I'm Buffalo at 30, if I'm Tampa at 32, when you returned all
Yeah.
22 of your starters, I take a shot.
Who's the
Yeah.
linebacker that Jacksonville picked up that had that history injury that they?
I hate to cut
Maybe
this off, guys,
3
but
years
I
ago?
gotta head out. So if you guys want to continue, but I'm gonna exit. I guess
Stage left?
Would that be stage left or is that stage right?
He's right.
Or stage house?
That's stage,
Stage left, yeah.
Because it's when you're looking at it.
Yeah, you're right. So it'd be stage left.
Yeah.
Good call. Catch you guys later.
Safe.
Bring it up! Bring it up! Bring it up! All right, man.
You know you're getting old when you have to grunt to stand up.
Yep.
Yeah, when every time you get up, you make sound effects.
Hell
Get
yeah.
up, sit down.
Yes.
We get the dog for you. Oh.
I appreciate
No, let it bite him.
Oh, that's a fun sound effect we can have off camera.
But
So what else?
well, we
Lauren,
talked.
what's your favorite draft memory? 'Cause I like that.
Memory?
Yeah.
I think probably 06 when the Jets took Ferguson and
Mangold in the first draft.
That was awesome. And it
That was was that
paid
what's
off
his
really
name?
well.
And that was what's his name? Was that his first draft?
The Brickashaw Ferguson, right?
Mangini's first draft.
No, yeah, no. Mangini was the coach though. Tannenbaum.
Tannenbaum's
Was that his first Jets draft?
That was his first year as GM, yeah.
Yeah, I remember I saw him talking about that. I'm like, that was an incredible, and he got a lot of flack because those aren't sexy picks. Like a left tackle, maybe you can argue is a sexy
I
pick,
appreciated
but the
it.
Nick Man, like picking a center in the first round is never a sexy pick. Like people
Yeah.
want that shiny toy, but
And then a few years later, they
Those
go to
become
back-to-back
two-
AFC Championship games because of that offensive line.
Yeah.
And Darrell Revis.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what I missed?
What were some of your draft memories? Some of your favorite draft memories?
When Sam Darnold got drafted, I was in Disney World. I was fucking pumped.
So it wasn't because you were in Disney World.
Why do we have to bring this guy up every time?
It's
just trying.
I was pumped,
He's just
dude.
trying to get under my
The
skin.
Jets would traded up in the draft. They needed a quarterback. He was the consensus #1 quarterback in the
He
draft.
was.
I was fucking excited, and I was in Disney World.
Baker Mayfield was the consensus #1.
Were we on
quarterback.
If you asked us to.
Were you on Space Mountain? That would have been cool.
No,
Actually, I was in
The number
Universal
one pick, yeah.
Studios at the ESPN bar,
Oh,
Oh,
that's right.
nice. So you were
Yeah,
watching the
nice.
draft at the ESPN.
and it was all Bucks fans. And they drafted Villa, I think that year.
Yeah.
That year.
What an
What a
animal.
good pick,
What an
yeah.
animal.
Yeah, I was pumped at the time too.
I remember just a couple of years ago, I wasn't happy with the result, but we were watching the draft, and it was like, ooh, are the Giants really going to get the defensive end, Josh Allen? Like, oh, we just need this to happen, and that to happen, and this to happen, and like these people to fuck this up, and we're watching it, and pick by pick, it's like,
They're fucking up.
he's falling. He's falling. And then I said it with Roger Goodell. With the 6th pick in the NFL draft, the New York Giants select, I said Josh Allen, Roger Goodell said Daniel Jones, and I said, fuck! and being a Bills fan, he was picking late that year. I'm like, get the fuck out of my house.
He's like, no, that's not happening. Whenever I get angry at the Bills for fucking up the draft, I let you stay and watch. I'm like, you're so right.
I think
I'm going the fuck outside.
I think every Giants fan at that point yelled "fuck" at the same time.
Yeah, remember when they had it at the stadium? Did you watch the? You know how they do the draft party at
Meadowlands.
Meadowlands?
Yeah, MetLife. Yeah.
When
the reaction for that?
Yeah, all the people in the stands after they made the.
I didn't see it. No,
For what it's worth,
All you hear is Giant fans go, "What the fuck?"
yeah, but let's not let the masses decide what's good or bad because Philly booed Donovan McNabb, and he was the greatest quarterback they've arguably ever had. Outside of maybe you want to say Randall Cunningham, you can argue that.
Listen,
one.
this is a prove it year for Daniel Jones, right? If he doesn't
has
do
to
well
be.
this year,
Yeah.
Yeah,
there's a lot of weapons around him.
Oh, it's not just weapons. Here's the problem, though. Daniel Jones is under siege way too often. Now, I know you had some young guys, but we also know Gettleman really likes his offensive linemen.
Yeah, so they need to help him out. If they go Rashawn Slater at 11, I'm not going to be upset at all.
If he makes it to 11, then you
makes
better
it.
run to the fucking podium and sign that.
I mean,
name.
Mekhi Becton fell to the Jets at 11 last year, so.
Yeah, and Slater's one of those
What
where,
was
like,
before him?
there was no question Becton was going to be a tackle. There is question will
Thomas?
Slater bump inside. Doesn't fucking
Wills?
matter.
See,
He's going to be good
Worse.
whatever he
Worse.
does.
No, worse.
I would like
worse
to
went
see-
after.
I would like to see Rashawn
It
Slater
was
at left
who were the two
guard.
guys. It was
So that it's Andrew Thomas and Rashawn Slater
I see what
Wills.
on
you're
the
saying.
end next to each other.
Wills, that's right.
You know, protect
Willis,
Daniel Jones
Willis,
where he
whatever
can't
it
see
is,
himself.
To the Browns.
And I think that would be good. And also, Rashawn Slater, the game that every draft analyst that I read brings
Ohio
up
State.
is that he blocked down Chase Young, who just happens to be in division.
And who also happens to, after 1 year, establish himself as
A
one of
top
the best
10.
edge rushers in the
Yeah.
league.
Mm-hmm.
It did not take him long.
So, like,
We all knew it.
Rashawn
Yeah.
Slater, a guy you know who can block down a huge threat, it just seems like what the Giants really need.
Yeah,
It'd
like-
be nice if they get Devontae Smith.
What
It'd be
number
nice
they
if
at?
they get 11.
If they're both
So
available,
you have
Cowboys right in front of us.
the Cowboys, you have the Bengals. Bengals are probably going to
Bengals
take
look
Bengals
at
are
O-line.
going Sewell,
Philly
yeah.
might go O-line. Like, let's talk about them
Philly's
going
right
for-
after us,
Philly
but
go.
they might trade up.
Oh, you're right. They did go below you. Carolina needs to go O-line because, like we were talking about, they've got some weapons. Now you need to
What?
protect Sam
Did they
Darnold if
trade
you
up?
want to
Yeah,
see
they
if he's
traded
worth the
Yeah, Philly's
investment.
down.
Yeah.
I mean, they might.
Um,
They might. I don't know.
Dallas maybe Dallas realizes that their O-line is starting to crumble, and Jerry Jones has this mentality of you always want to reinforce your strengths. Like the idea of you can always improve your weaknesses, but you
Well,
want to
they have 4
reinforce
number
your
1
strengths.
wide receivers.
Right, exactly, and why they're talking about getting Kyle Pitts. Like he's infatuated with Kyle Pitts. Like please, Jerry Jones, trade up to 4, take Kyle Pitts there, finish with the best offense and the historically worst defense, finish 8-8, and let us all just kind of rewrite the narrative from the last 10 years.
We'll give him a big old Jason Garrett.
I mean, plus if they go 8-8, then the Giants have a chance of making the playoffs.
I mean,
They almost
8
won
and 8 could win the
in
division.
6.
Exactly. 8-8 also means that 9-7 wins the division,
yeah.
or 8-8 with the tiebreaker.
Giants were 9-7 the first time they won the Super Bowl.
And the
with
second
Eli.
time, or was it 10-6 the second time?
10-6 the second time. Both times as wild cards, which is why I don't think that the wild card slot needed to be expanded.
So if Slater and Smith, if Devontae Smith and Rashad Slater are both there at 11, and you're getting, what do you think Gettleman's doing? What would you do?
What do I think Gettleman's going to do?
He's gonna fuck it up. What would I do?
Proving my point.
I'd probably go Rashawn Slater.
That's what I would do.
I really like Devontae Smith, but what good is a wide receiver if your quarterback doesn't have any time to get him the ball? A quarterback who you know is going to fumble the ball if he gets karate chopped.
He also brought in Galladay, right?
Yeah. Kyle Rudolph.
Rudolph. You got
Barkley coming back.
Marcus
coming
back,
back.
Sterling Shepard's still there, Darius
Shepard,
Slayton's
yeah.
still there.
Yeah.
You
That's
got
Ed
solid.
Ingram is
You got
still there,
plenty of
technically.
weapons.
Yeah.
Plenty of weapons.
So how about this? Because obviously we're looking at Slater. We know that Sewell is going to go in the top 10 likely.
Probably the
Top
Bengals.
5, yeah,
Probably the
Bengals.
Bengals.
What about Elijah Vera Tucker?
I honestly don't know much about
He's
him.
been
a-
going.
I know
the
Steve's
late-
been
the late
huge
He's a
teens.
very
He's not-
versatile guy. He's played left tackle for USC, but he could probably play. He could
He's
play
gonna be a
all
guard.
5 positions.
He's going to be a guard.
I feel like he's got the athleticism to survive, but I agree with you. Kind of like with Slater, where you're slightly undersized. Kind of Beecham. Kelvin Beecham is a great example, where he was an undersized offensive tackle, but he made it work with technique and with enough finesse, basically, to kind of get to the right position and shield him off. So if they're going to make it a tackle, that's how. But if they're not, kicking him into guard obviously is.
He's going in the mid-teens
second
now.
choice.
I mean, he used to be available at 23 for the Jets as these mocks have been going, but not anymore.
But
I
I'm
mean,
just thinking of other offensive linemen. Like, let's say Slater is gone.
Like,
Let's say Slater goes at
I-
10 for some reason.
Ideally, if I get all my hopes and dreams, they'll get Rashawn Slater at 11, and then they'll get Creed Humphrey in the second round. But I don't see Creed Humphrey dropping that far.
It's
No,
possible.
for
Somebody
sure.
people have to drop. There's only 32 picks in the
Right.
first round, and
Yeah.
there are a lot more than 32 guys that people are saying are first round talents.
Yep.
Yeah.
So It's possible. I'm just trying to figure out, like, we know, like, Gettleman loves his offensive linemen, especially day 2 guys.
Who else is going to be there? Tevin Jenkins is another.
I mean,
good
Michael
one.
Parsons is still going to be there.
I'll go on
11.
record right now. I got no problem if I'm wrong on this. Tevin Jenkins is a bad first round pick, and anybody, including you, Brandon Bean, who selects him in the first round will be disappointed. Here's the thing with me. If you're going to draft somebody and you know he's going to play tackle, this guy is like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. He's going to play tackle. You can't have the problems with the speed rushers that you have in the Big 12. This is not a team that is not a conference that's known for its defense. And if these speed DNs are getting past you, I have a concern.
I agree. He's been going maybe like 15 in mocks, so I don't know.
Saw a lot of teams like him, and it
but
just scares the hell out of me.
He's one of those draft prospects that come out of nowhere, like right before the draft comes out.
And sometimes
Like Khalil Mack out of Buffalo.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong, sometimes it works out. This guy is just one of those where I'm having a hard time getting behind it because I don't like. Maybe it's the Cody Ford thing where I was a fan of Cody Ford. I understood his potential like handicap of not being able to handle the speed guys, and I was like, you know what? I don't care. I think he's gonna make it at right tackle. And ultimately, I was wrong on that one. And now I'm just kind of got that bitter taste in my mouth of if this guy, he doesn't have to be able to lock down Prime Von Miller, or Myles Garrett on his own every time. But if I can't trust you to at least put up a fight against these guys who will only have a speed move, I'm concerned. Especially for a first round pick.
Fair point, sir.
But so, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, like, we know that, like, the second round offensive lineman is actually where I think the Giants would go. Because you've got, like, Gettleman has spent a lot of, including when he was in Carolina, he's used a lot of second, like, day 2 picks. Even, like, with the Giants, you've got Matt Peart last year from UConn.
Will Hernandez earlier.
Second round
2
pick.
years ago.
And then in Carolina, I remember Taylor Morton.
And Trey Turner was a later round guy.
Yeah, third round guy there. So we see, and a lot of, like, Trey Turner was a hit.
Yeah, definitely.
Taylor Morton just got franchise tagged, so you can argue maybe it's just he was the best that they could get, but he's a serviceable offensive lineman, and getting serviceable on day 2 for O-line isn't awful. You want good. Will Hernandez, I expected, honestly, a little bit more, to be
Yeah, I
perfectly
expected
honest.
him to take it that next step. Like,
He was pumped up quite a bit in the draft. Pre-draft process.
Because he's got that raw. He came out of UTEP, right? I think.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But
He
he's
wears
had
that neck
raw
collar, the neck brace on his shoulder.
Another reason why he liked.
Yeah, I like the neck roll.
Like, if Vander Esch did not play for the Cowboys.
Oh, I love
Leighton Vander Esch. That's my dude.
That's
I'm so not happy.
He doesn't
I'm
have the-
very not happy.
He doesn't just have the neck roll. He has like the neck flare.
Yeah.
Like it is like
the
the
whole Bosworth shit.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like
Yeah,
Predator
yeah.
with that. He's got that.
He still gets fucking
I
hurt.
played with that thing, and it's fucking hard to move around with.
Really?
That. Yeah.
You have very
That's
limited
good, though.
head move.
Like, the whole point is that it.
No, but I mean, it fucks with your vision as trying to play the game. You know what I mean? Because you got to move like your whole top half. You can't just move your neck around. You know.
That's actually been a complaint of every Batman until Ben Affleck. Because the head has always been connected to the shoulder. So if you watch any Batman movie,
yeah.
if Batman's like talking to Commissioner Gordon, he then has to like
Yeah.
swivel at his head.
I thought that was just because he wanted to keep that superhero pose at all times.
No, it's because the actor literally could not turn his head.
Yeah, but one other thing I'm also thinking of, because we know what Gettleman likes. Like, we know Douglas likes O-lineman, and that's why it wouldn't surprise me if that's why they went with that second one. In addition to O-line, you know Gettleman likes his Mahog Mollies on the D-line.
Yeah.
Like, he likes some speed guys. He's picked up, like, Lorenzo Carter and Jimenez and whatnot, but he
So, like,
has made a lot of investments, both even dating back to Carolina on the interior.
Rashawn Slater and then Gregory Rousseau. I would be pretty. That would be a pretty happy camper.
Who's your draft crush for the last pick for your team?
Like, at the very end of the draft?
Your last pick.
Jimmy Shaughnessy. That's.
It's not Pro Wells for you. You talked a
No,
lot.
I think Pro Wells. So I like
Love
Pro
it.
Wells. One name. That and two.
Let me see that.
I don't really have one.
Yeah, I don't,
Just the name.
I don't really have
Um,
one either.
Which one of these
Oh
is
no!
most
Cause
likely?
the other thing, he opted out of going to Marshall to play basketball and football, and went to JUCO just to play football and get better at that, and then went to TCU, who I like, just because the Horned Frogs sound cool.
Jerry Hughes.
I like Josh Ball mostly because he's like the size of Mekhi Becton.
Yeah, he
And
is a big boy.
I think there's a chance that he could be a good player, a really good player.
Yeah, and you, like you said, you get him day 3, I'm thinking, as well.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm thinking that kid, what's his name? Amir Smith Marshall or something, the wide receiver out of Iowa. It's one of those where a lot of people are now starting to starting to talk about him because he's always been he's like 6'2", I think, and has a really good athletic profile. But Iowa's just been a stick in the mud when it comes to the offense. They're known to make offensive linemen and tight ends.
Maybe a tight end here and there, yeah.
Hawkinson and Font, I think we're both Iowa, right?
Yep.
So
But that was just last year. Like before that.
Yeah, that's a good point. But they're basically known as, we're going to give you blue-collar, serviceable offensive linemen. Like, that's what you go to Iowa for, really. But, so, like, the offense has never really been that dynamic. But that's a kid who I think can be had on day 3 that actually might be one of those steals that
Where did
people talk
N'Keal
about.
Harry go?
Arizona State.
No, I mean...
Oh, New England. Funny story about that
No,
one.
he moved. They traded him.
N'Keal Harry just today or something?
No, they didn't.
No,
There's talk about moving him, but...
Oh, okay, my bad.
I think he's still.
I read something that Bill Belichick is the one that wanted N'Keal Harry, and his like scouting department were trying to hype up Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown. And Bill Belichick.
I loved AJ Brown, man.
Me too. I was a
Oh,
him
man.
over DK Metcalf guy.
Yeah, and I really like DK Metcalf because I was just like, he looks like the
Yeah, he's
Banshee.
still.
Yeah. But so like when I heard that, I'm like, you know what? Maybe Bill Belichick should just stick to the defense because obviously he knows how to find defensive talent, and then just let Josh McDaniels and hire Tom Brady back as like a consultant or something.
Maybe he's been playing too much Madden, because in Madden, when they were both rookies, N'Keal Harry was better than AJ Brown.
When they were rookies before week 1 when they updated the rosters. But another, because I was talking about safeties, and I like Nasir Al-Din. I also really like Javon Holland, who's not going to be there at the end. I just wanted to make sure I got that on the record, that I've loved him at Oregon, because I'm an Oregon fan in general for a while.
Go Ducks.
But Derek Forrest, safety for Cincinnati. He was the lesser known one before their number 1 guy kind of got hurt last year. But he's one of those where he was kind of like a jack of all trades, master of none. And that's sort of what I like in a late round, especially a defensive back or a safety, because when you look at the Bills especially, Poyer and Hyde are very good because of how interchangeable they can be. They have their strengths, obviously, but they can play interchangeably, and it lets you disguise what you're doing on defense. So if you get a guy who's a jack of all trades, master of none, and he's not forced into starting action, and can learn from guys like Poyer and Hyde in a culture like what Buffalo's got, and then he goes to his pro day and he runs
in
like
that position room and get to ask questions of guys who are doing it at a very high level.
Yeah, learn how to break down film. And then he ran faster. I think he ran like a 4.4 or 4.42 or something like that at his pro
Everybody
day.
this year ran a 4.4.
Yeah, it's probably
or
closer
lower.
to a 4.5. Like, we should take
Yeah.
the pro days with a grain of salt. But still, it was one of those where he ran fast enough where any concerns about a limited athletic profile or are assuaged a little bit. So that would be like that late round guy where I'm like, you know what, come 5th, 6th round, if he's there, I would love for Buffalo
about
to
Paris
get him
Ford?
and kind of develop him behind our guys.
What about Paris
Where
Ford?
is he?
That's your
Colts?
No, but that's Paris Campbell.
Oh, okay.
And yes, he is on the Colts.
Oh,
Paris,
this doesn't tell me where.
something.
I'm actually blanking.
Paris Ford.
Paris Ford. I honestly don't know enough about him. One of the big things is that I watched a lot of Cincinnati this year because they started skyrocketing up the rankings and they even made it to they were in playoff.
Their symbol's
talk
cool
before they
too. It's
lost.
like the animal hands.
Yeah. And I
Paul.
like the team. They play well, and they had a very exotic defense. They play like this 3-3-5 zone blitz type of defense.
Oh, that's a cool thing.
And in my opinion, and a lot of their players were also older players, juniors and seniors. So these are guys who they developed in this system, and so they understand what their job is and what the mission is and what the totality of their collaborative efforts are supposed to yield. And so I really like those kind of guys because that shows a mental acumen at a college level that you don't always get when you're just such an athletic profile that you can just skate by on your athleticism.
You alright, Born?
Yeah, I just have
It's fucking Sam Darnold, isn't it?
my back hurts a little bit. That's why I'm moving.
From
around.
carrying all of us through this podcast.
Yeah, from the fucking shit I was carrying today. But that's why I was a little quieter today. I'm a little more tired.
Well, you're not as quiet as Rob is right now.
Oh well.
God damn it, Rob.
What happened? Why did he just left?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alyssa had a bad day and wanted to vent.
Oh, is that what he said?
That's what he told me.
Okay.
Isn't that what telephones are for? Like on the drive home? I don't know. Whatever.
It is what it is. But now we're also airing our own personal lives, which you guys are more than welcome to.
I will cut this part out. This little 15 seconds.
You sure? Because we also said we were gonna get rid of that word that we never got rid of.
Do you have anything?
Yeah, whatever
else
happened
you
with
wanna
that?
cover?
I'm trying to think of like any
We're allowed
other,
to say it.
like any other. Oh,
So it didn't have
one
to
other
cut.
sleeper that I always
we
been
were
looking
doing
at just because I like running backs and I like those later round guys. Elijah Mitchell.
please
I don't know if
don't do
anybody
that.
watched
I
the
did.
Raging Cajun this year. They kind of had like this 3 running back monster, including their quarterback who was more as much of a runner as a passer too. So I guess 4. But Elijah Mitchell just is one of those guys where he's like that slower, like that lower to the ground bowling ball, but he ran like a 4.4. So that like again, grain of salt. But if he is that fast kind of thing, and I know 4.4 is not like blazing, but it's fast enough for a running back when I'm
It's
used
really
to
fucking fast in real life.
Yeah, that's something where I'm like, okay, that's what I'm thinking about. But I guess what I was also trying to think of is like, I guess we talked about we talked about that kind of thing. I guess what I really was trying to get to when I was talking about D-line and with the Giants was if there was a D-line prospect that you were kind of looking at that we can kind of just pencil in as a target of Gettleman's because we know that he's at least looking at him.
I like Demukeje as like a later
The
round
Wake Forest
guy.
kid?
No, the Duke kid.
Oh, Duke kid, sorry, yeah.
I just think that Duke
What
connection
round?
with DJ. 4 or 5.
That's what I'm thinking as well.
Yeah, as a later guy, because otherwise, like, Gregory Rousseau, I think is going to be the best edge rusher in this class. Best hand in the dirt edge rusher.
What do you mean, like 5 years from now? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You know what scares me about Rousseau, to be perfectly honest, is like he was
He
so
doesn't
bad.
run the technique at all.
He was so bad at his pro day, right? And the issue is that he took off last year, which means that it's your responsibility to keep yourself in top shape. We saw guys like Rashad Bateman, basically. Yeah, he played a game or two before he opted out, came back 2 games, opted out again. But you saw guys like Jamar Chase, opted out all year, came in, blew up the pro day.
Because you're supposed to be getting ready.
Gregory Rousseau, and so I question, do you have that work ethic? If you spend all that time and you know what drills you're going to do. You know exactly what you have to do. Why are you not practicing that meticulously to look the best you can for the most important job interview of your damn life? And that is a red flag to me because I want effort. And if you took a year off, and don't get me wrong, he does have all that natural ability, and if he can get motivated and a team can get him, he could be the best edge rusher. I just am very disappointed in the fact that he's going to need that extra coercion. I want my guys to be internally driven as well as externally. Especially if you're investing a first-round talent and if you're expecting this guy to be... This guy, like we said, after sophomore year, a redshirt sophomore year or something like that, or his sophomore year, whatever it was, when he was second in the league in college for sacks behind Chase Young. And when the only person who beats you is Chase Young, you're pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And then you look like that at your pro day, and and you're not coming off of injury, you're just coming off of lack of activity. That's a character check mark that you did not get from me.
It's a flag that gets raised.
That's why he's been dropped into the second round in a lot of the mocks now, I see.
Yeah, because a couple weeks ago he was
Top 10.
Yeah.
But Gettleman hasn't been great at the edge. He's been he got Star Latulele, who was a good pick in my opinion. Like a little
not an edge rusher though.
Not an edge, but that's what I'm saying. Is like him, Kawan Short on the interior, B.J. Hill on the interior, Dexter Lawrence on the interior, Davlin Tomlinson on the interior, who just left, but he was good.
Signing Big Cat on the interior.
Yeah. So obviously he's good at acquiring those guys. It seems like I like Lorenzo Carter, but we can all admit that he is not the edge phenom that we would hope for him to be.
Yeah.
Jimenez
Nor
has
does
not
he play
developed.
any zone coverage at all.
Yeah, O'Shea Jimenez or Jimenez.
I think it's Jimenez. Because it's with an X.
Out of Old Dominion has not developed the way that you want. So I'm just wondering if
With an X.
that's how he spells his name.
No, it's just,
I know. Just how
But so I'm wondering if he just doesn't have his eye for interior D-line seems to be a lot better. So like that Duke kid, maybe that's a good choice. Let him choose a late round guy so that way you can't blow an early round pick on a guy that might not pan out.
Yeah, and then late round, I was torn between Demukeje and Jordan Phillips. I think it was Jordan Phillips. I have all my notes from last week.
Jordan Phillips, I'm a big fan of. Oh wait, Jordan. The Miami DM?
I think
That's
so.
Jalen.
Jalen Phillips.
That's not late round. He's going first. or
Yeah, he's
second.
going like late first maybe.
I gotta check my notes from last week then.
I got you. Okay. See, that's the thing also, like, that's one of the things that I'm trying to figure out with the Bills, is because, like, they draft D-backs a lot. Like, we drafted Trey White, we drafted Teron Johnson, we drafted Dane Jackson,
Levi Wallace.
we brought in Levi Wallace. We obviously like our cornerbacks and whatnot. But outside of Trey White, we haven't used one of those top flight picks. And one of the things I've noticed with who we pick with our first round is there are all these athletic phenoms. Trey White being the exception, but technically Trey White was drafted before Bean got there. Because it was one of those weird ones where McDermott and Doug Whaley, our former GM, were kind of coexisting. But we all knew that the power was being handed from Whaley to McDermott. It was only a matter of time before Whaley was
And
gone.
McDermott sort of got to pick Bean as the GM, right?
Yeah. And
Which
so,
was like a unique situation also.
which worked out really well, though, because at least it guaranteed alignment between the GM and the head coach. But so the point being that after that, now granted, we used one first round pick on Stephon Diggs, so that doesn't exactly count as a draft prospect. But guys we brought in the first round after Trey White, we brought in Josh Allen, an athletic
Great
phenom
pick.
at quarterback. Tremaine Edmonds, an athletic phenom at middle linebacker. Ed Oliver was an athletic phenom at D tackle. So
We passed
obviously,
on him,
athletic
too.
high pro. What's up?
We passed on him too.
But you got Quinion Williams, who was a freaking animal too.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have passed.
Like
him.
an absolute
I wouldn't have taken Ed Oliver
I
at
think
3
this
when you
year's
guys.
going to be a big year for Quinn Williams.
It's gonna be a big one for Ed Oliver too, because with Star Lotulelei coming back and being that I'm gonna take double teams so you can go 1-on-1, Ed Oliver needs to show I could beat my 1-on-1s consistently, because if not, another 9th overall pick was rich. But the
Have
point
you guys seen that video of Quinion Williams sneezing, blessing himself, and then
Yes.
thanking
Bless him.
himself?
on the draft day, right?
Yeah, and then just like kept going, like he didn't
He's a nice
do
kid.
that.
He went over
Yeah.
it like a couple weeks ago.
Really?
He mocked it, yeah. It's fine.
He did get in trouble with the gun, though, didn't he? Get on air.
No, he didn't.
He didn't get in trouble.
Well,
It was in the
at
news,
first-
but he didn't get in trouble. It was straight up
Got
because
dropped.
New York had different laws than Alabama. Which
Oh,
duh!
I
He was
did
never
hear about
charged with
that.
anything.
He's never
so.
charged.
He wasn't charged.
Yeah, and he grew up in Bama, and he went to Bama, right?
Yeah.
So like, if that's what you know,
And then you go to
and,
New
and
York
you're like
City.
what, 22 years old, 23 years
I
old,
gotta
like.
know. Yeah.
How are you supposed to know you're not allowed to just conceal carry when I'm pretty sure Alabama's a constitutional carry state where you don't need a license to
The
conceal
laws
carry.
are a little bit different down there, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
a little bit.
So like
a little bit is an exaggeration.
I'm just saying, like, a kid who grows up like that,
Nah, yeah.
you don't stop being a kid just
because you get handed $10 million.
No,
now you're just a kid who has to like
That's $10
really
million.
grow up fast. Yeah.
No,
So like, it's not like Plaxico Burress wearing fucking sweatpants to a club shooting yourself in the leg because you're a moron.
he got his ring first, at least.
Yeah.
Any other topics we want
But
to
the one thing I wanted to say, I was just talking about the athletic phenoms. That's what tries to make me think, what could the Bills be looking at? Because I feel like they want that guy who's got that athletic upside, which is why like the Russo or Phillips out of Miami are, especially because we need those edge taller guys. That's why they stick out. Cornerbacks like Newsome or Stokes, who have run like in the low 4.3s, which realistically, let's just say 4.4 something. That's something, especially Newsome at 6'1", I think he
Yeah,
is.
realistically that fast, though.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
it wouldn't surprise me.
Zaven Collins, before we get brought back, we brought back Matt Milano at 6'4", 6'5", and he's a very fluid athlete at that size. So I'm trying to think of like those guys who are just exceptional athletes, especially for their positions. And I feel like that seems to be a theme that Bean likes, because he's thinking if they have some skill and a lot of athleticism, we have the staff here to bring the most out of them. Where you start in what role, it's like, hey, just do your job. This is your role for year one. Get really good at it. And then come the next year, obviously, we've got a plan. And I'm just very proud to kind of tout that, because I feel like I haven't been able to say Buffalo has a plan basically my entire fandom until Bean came to town.
It's a good point, sir.
Yeah.
I
I
just-
think good things are on the horizons for all of us.
for all
Like,
teams.
The Jets
Right.
really have nowhere to go but up. But it seems like
They have the right infrastructure.
You say that now. You say that now, but the Jets can do it.
there's
all.
literally only one place worse you guys can go. Right? You don't get the second overall pick because
We
you
can
were
be
good.
in this place in 2 years. That'd be a fucking worse place.
Yeah,
you gotta
that's
think-
fair. That's
I was
fair.
going to say, you got to think about it. They didn't naturally pick at 3 when they picked Darnold 3 years ago. They were picking at 6 and traded up from there. So they weren't far off from where they were 3 years ago.
3 second-round picks.
3 second-round picks and the first and the 6th overall.
Mm-hmm.
So you just traded a first and 3 seconds for second, third, and second, fourth, and 6th. That's all. You took him off a lot. He depreciated. It's what happens, unfortunately. But that's in the past.
It also depends on who you guys get with the 6th this year and then the 2nd and 4th next year. If you guys get a stud next year at 2, then it's worth it.
2 second round, not you guys picking 2 again
Not 2
overall.
overall.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Second round.
I mean, and I'm happy if they are, because that means they weren't any competition to us in the division.
We're not going to be any competition for you for a while.
Hey.
At least 2 years.
Look, it's quite possible, but it's one of those things where, don't get me wrong, on paper,
Never
you're
know
absolutely right.
division
We are the
games.
favorites in the division, and we should be viewed as such. I'm not going to ever sit there and say that we are going to win the division, though.
Justin
because-
Herbert came in and dropped 30 touchdowns last year. Zach Wilson could do it.
Yeah, but he also had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Mike Williams!
And Hunter
Who
Henry.
didn't do fuck all in
And,
fantasy.
a little bit of Austin Eckler. And, the Jets have some good play pieces, though. You got Corey Davis now. Jamison Crowder is still there. Denzel Mims has another year. And
Jamison Crowder is certainly a piece.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a good piece, but he's on the board.
I'm curious what the Jets are going to do at running back. Because you brought in Telvin Coleman. And Robert Saleh, obviously, if you're going by... And LaFleur, coming from San Fran, they had, 3 or 4 running backs that Shanahan was just constantly kind of going with the hot hand and rolling them in. So, you guys don't have that number 1, it seems, on the roster. It seems like that's going to be the approach unless you guys spring for a running back in the first. But
I don't think.
But it
Probably
seems like
gonna
Douglas taking Michael Pirine mid-round. And then back in Philly, he took Wendell Smallwood in the 4th. And he took
Yep.
Darnell Pumphrey, San Diego State, in the
And that's
in
what
the
it's
4th.
gonna
or
be.
I
5th.
think one of those 2 Tar Heel
Johnson's
running
on the-
backs is
on
still
the
going to be
roster,
around
right?
in the 3rd round for the Jets.
Yeah.
Maybe Michael
Ty
Michael
Johnson
Carter?
I
and
think so.
P. Ryan.
P. Ryan and there's
And then you brought in Telvin Coleman.
Yeah. It's
Tevin Coleman. There's
probably
there's
just going to
another one, too.
platoon that, I would think.
Josh Andrews,
Josh Adams,
Josh Adams,
the Notre Dame kid.
Yeah.
So you got capable bodies if the idea is just to kind of build up the O-line and kind of hope the scheme can kind of average you close to 4 yards a carry to keep you ahead of the chains.
I like Matt Breida going to the Bills.
I
'Cause
really
I
like
think
Matt
he's-
B to come to the Browns, especially because he's on the veteran minimum. Every time we get somebody on the veteran minimum, I'm just like, man, Bean has a silver tongue or something.
Yeah.
Or these guys are really just more bums than I remember them being in Madden a couple years ago, which is quite possible.
Well, you tore it up with Breida and Madden because he's got that 95 speed.
Damn
so you
straight.
just,
When you
hit
run
the-
that stretch offense where everything is based off of the stretch. It is.
Born, you tired?
Just Ted. Sorry.
But Matt Breida coming over, I think, is a good thing because we need some speed. I love Devin Singletary. He's very shifty, but he doesn't have
Yeah, you have a few
breakaway
guys
speed.
who are going to guarantee
Zach
you
Moss
3
is going to
yards.
fall forward. Most of the time, he's powerful, but he doesn't have that speed. And having that home run element out of the backfield is one of the reasons you see a lot of Bills fans, I think, clamoring for a guy like Travis Etienne in the 1st round because having that running back, don't get me wrong, having that number 1 running back will certainly take us to the next level. Investing 2 third-round picks, though, in running backs that are solid, and you can, and I think that you can invest that elsewhere. It's one of those where I feel like I'm not gonna hate. If we pick ETN, I'm gonna root for that kid every day. But chances are, even if we don't,
both liked him just watching Clemson games for a while.
yeah, as long as he
like,
doesn't go to the Jets or the Patriots, I'll probably root for him too, or the Giants. No offense, you guys beat us in the 1 Super Bowl we should have won. I'm never gonna forget that.
Well,
Never.
you shouldn't forget.
Never
it.
forget.
Never forget.
Just like your birthday.
Exactly.
On that though,
Guys, you want to close it out?
I don't know. I was
Yeah.
kind of letting Bourne kind of melt into the couch, seeing how long we could get until he kind of just officially went horizontal. But maybe this is a good time to wrap up.
So, does Sam Darnold get more wins in his first year as a Panther than he has in his career
yes, because they have
as
an
a
extra
Jet?
game in the season.
In his career as a Jet,
In
he's
his
won,
career.
no, he's won 13, so that's not going to happen.
You don't think he's...
I'm glad you told me that because I had no clue how many he won. I would have put it somewhere around
I
6.
know, yeah. No,
Yeah,
no way.
yeah, 13 and 25 as a starter.
No way.
No way he wins
Not in that division.
13 games
No.
next year. No way, no how, I say.
But Carolina beats the Jets next year
Oh, without a doubt.
Probably, yeah.
by double
Oh, without-
digits.
Without
By
a
double
doubt.
digits?
By double digits.
By double digits.
Yes.
Want to water bet that?
I'm not sure what that is, so before I say yes, explain it.
You don't watch the fantasy footballers?
Apparently not.
No. So they have. They
Thanks for
make,
outing me on to
they
all
make-
of our
they make
followers.
they make an app where it's a wheel of water or something like that. It's for water bets. So one way or another, if you lose the bet, you're getting wet somehow. Somehow I get to splash you with water.
Oh, that's a kind of cool bet.
Okay.
And then there's a wheel that you spin, and it determines in which way do I.
Oh,
get you
does he get to dump a bucket on
Do
you?
I get-
Is it a water balloon, a water
something
gun?
like that? Yeah.
Okay.
Water
Oh,
bet.
Water bet on it.
Water
Double
bet.
digits. So if Carolina wins by 10, I win.
Yes.
Cool.
Witness.
So a 9.5 point spread on that one.
I'm going. Oh man, I'm sure that I know I've been off more than I can chew there. So
Who's home for that?
Sammy G, I know that I called
I
you a
think
bust.
Carolina.
Carolina. That's the one
Carolina?
reason I
Oh,
figured that's
yeah.
3 more. That's why I figured 3 points for them. Win by a touchdown. There we go.
That's
The
10.
touchdown plus the 3, that would give me it. But
We'll find out soon enough.
We'll find out.
And
On that note,
And unfortunately, it'll die infinitely.
You know what? There's also a good chance he'll get hurt by that time that game runs.
That's why I said.
Adam, what's your sign-off line?
Oh yeah, so I guess
Have a good night,
Be
everyone.
safe, be smart.
rock on.
I gotta start going after him now. You know what I mean?